Western philosophy, Eastern tradition, power and strength, technique and execution. Tonight, worlds collide as East battles West for the UFC Middleweight Championship of the World. Tito Ortiz versus Yuki Kondo. It's time to get real. UFC 29 is next. They have been lining the streets here in downtown Tokyo all day long in anticipation of some great mixed martial arts competition tonight inside the Differ Ariake Arena in Tokyo. As for the fourth time in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC has gone global, and the gates of the Octagon are going to host some of the greatest fighters in the world here this evening. And welcome inside our venue here in Tokyo, Japan. For the fourth time in the history of the UFC, the gates of the Octagon are open in the land of the rising sun. Alongside my partner, the Olympic gold medalist Jeff Blatnick, I'm Mike Goldberg. Not one, but two belts are on the line tonight. Tito Ortiz will defend for the first time his middleweight championship belt. He will take on Yuki Kondo.
The bad boy of Huntington Beach. Last time we saw him was last April, 8 months. People want to know where he's been and where he's at in his fighting style. Great striker, great at takedowns. He's improved his stand-up skills and he's improved his submission skills.
He is young, he is charismatic. Then you have Pat Milotic, who is undefeated and seems to be like a fine wine, only getting better with age.
Certainly is. Milotic is continuing to improve himself. The best compliment we can pay to him is the fact that so many fighters go to Iowa to train with him and to use him as a cornerman, because what he lacks in flash, he makes up for with smarts.
Although the last time we saw him, he had a little flash and dash and he threw some great punches. Will he need to tonight? Only time will tell. Those two will defend belts, Milotic and Ortiz, but they are not the only ones on the card tonight.
No, Matt Hughes, a rising star in our lightweight division, he'll be on the card. Then you have Evan Tanner, and it's been a while since we've seen Evan, but he has been great every time he's walked into the Octagon. And of course, personal favorite, Matt Lindland. In Sydney this past summer, he earned an Olympic silver medal.
So he is a newcomer to the UFC tonight. One man who is not a newcomer to our broadcast, the third member of our broadcast team. Let's go backstage and check in with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Great to be back here in Tokyo. The fourth time the Octagon has come to the land of the rising sun. Of course, everyone buzzing about two belts on the line. Tito and Pat defending. Big thing in the UFC, as everyone knows, is experience between Ortiz and Milotic. You've got 12 appearances between Kondo and Yamamoto, just 3. So we will see what will happen. We know that anything can happen in the Octagon, and hopefully it will tonight. Octagon regulations here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. 3 judges will score the bout. Bout durations, 3 5-minute rounds. Championship fights are 5 5-minute rounds. 10-point must scoring system here in the UFC, based on effective striking, grappling, aggressiveness, and Octagon control. Tonight's judges: Yoshinori Nishi from Nagasaki, Yoshinori Umiki out of Tokyo, Japan, and our American judge tonight, T.J. Thompson out of Honolulu, Hawaii. Goldie, back to you.
Worm, thank you very much. Great fights and great sights here in the land of the rising sun. Some of the Asian beauties who will be with us throughout the evening.
I would give very high marks to these ladies.
Absolutely.
Outside the Octagon.
Title holders in their own right, and they will be working diligently to help to entertain our fans here at the Differ Ariake Arena this evening for UFC 29. First fighters to entertain, Chuck Liddell against Jeff Monson, a middleweight matchup that was supposed to happen just a number of weeks ago. Middleweight Chuck the Iceman Liddell returns to the Octagon tonight after a layoff of over a year. It was back at UFC 17 when Liddell made his UFC debut, taking out Noe Hernandez in one of the night's preliminary bouts. Jumping into the main draw at UFC 19, Liddell took on veteran grappler Jeremy Horn. The fight went back and forth throughout the 12-minute period and ended with Horn locking in a slow choke just before the bell. Eager to get back on the winning track, Liddell returned at UFC 22 against Paul Jones. The Iceman dominated from the beginning, neutralizing Jones' takedown attempts and scoring with punches until the fight was stopped 4 minutes into the first round due to a cut. a UFC record of 2-1, and an overall mixed martial arts record of 4-1. Chuck, the Iceman Liddell, returns to the octagon tonight. Jeff Monson returns to the octagon fresh off his victory at last September's UFC 27. In one of the evening's preliminary bouts, Monson took on UFC veteran Tim Lejczyk. The first round saw the rookie score with a takedown and dominate from the guard throughout. In the second round, Monson capitalized after Lejczyk missed with a throw and racked up enough points to take the unanimous decision victory in his octagon debut. Moving down from heavy to middleweight tonight, Jeff Monson looks to continue his winning ways. So Jeff Monson, the middleweight, at 5'9", 199 pounds, from the fighting city of St. Paul, Minnesota, now working out of Olympia, Washington. A fine wrestler trained by Randy Couture and Dan Henderson and the Raw team, enters the octagon to try to remain undefeated in his UFC career.
Well, he's got an extensive wrestling background, so look for him, as we saw in that quick clip against Lejczyk, to go for the takedowns. But Liddell, tell you what, Chuck Liddell has got some good defense for that, so Monson's going to have to capitalize on his good wrestling. That's going to be the key. He's also going to have to avoid leg kicks, and he has trained in submission, Mike, but I would tend to think he's still young at this. He may not be as well versed as some of our better fighters.
So Jeff Monson set to take on 30-year-old Chuck, the Iceman Liddell, to get things started here at UFC Japan this evening from Tokyo. 6'2", 199 pounds, Chuck Liddell, one of the finest kickboxers in all of the world. He has displayed in his past fights the ability to strike with great accuracy, to strike with great power.
And he can do it with both his hands and especially his feet. He's tremendous at leg kicks. We've seen him go upstairs against a number of opponents in his 3 fights in the UFC. And the question will be, will he do it again? Great striker coming from that boxing background, and of course a very good wrestler as well. He too has learned submissions. It's a necessary part of becoming a balanced fighter.
Inspired at 12 years old after watching demos of Kung Fu Theater, 30-year-old Chuck Liddell about to take on 29-year-old Jeff Monson. Liddell has that reach advantage over almost all of his opponents. Monson is a small tank at 5'9", 199 pounds, a middleweight matchup to get things started tonight. Sanshiro Matsuyama is working the microphone inside the octagon here this evening for UFC 29. Let's listen in a bit.
USMTA 北米キックボクシングヘビー級チャンピオン IKF アメリカヘビー級チャンピオン勝ち取った KO はほとんどがキック悪魔の足を持つ男188センチ90キログラム from アメリカレッドコーナーチャック・リデル
I like that. I like that. You get a great feel of what the fight game is about here in Japan. And remember, you and I were here back in December of '97, Jeff. It will be a very quiet building throughout. It's almost like breakfast at Wimbledon. It's almost like a tennis match because the tacticians are at work with Mario Yamasaki, our referee, and the crowd will watch it like it is a chess match. So the first of 3 5-minute rounds, and we are underway here in Tokyo.
Let's see how Monson assesses the distance Liddell needs to throw strikes. That'll be a big component of this fight.
Scott Adams in one corner, Matt Hughes working in the other corner. Chuck Liddell finds himself quickly in the guard of Jeff Monson.
And Monson here just staying with underhooks, keeping him close. So now he's coming up off his backside looking for a takedown. He has Liddell in a great position up against the fence, in on the leg, but Liddell now able to get a counter going, sprawling. And this looks like a wrestling match right here.
Well, Liddell is okay at wrestling. It is not the world in which he wants this fight to take total place in. Monson, of course, very comfortable with a strong wrestling background, also working out day in and day out with our heavyweight champion, Randy Couture, and also another great wrestler in Dan Henderson.
Monson needs to take advantage of this position and not just hang out here. Here, a very slow throwback. Monson covering Liddell, but he is not in a great position. He's stepping over that counter whizzer by Liddell and has gotten the takedown. But the question is what to do with it. He still has his hands locked like a wrestler. Needs to move, look for submission, or start to strike. Hanging on will not score a lot of points. And Liddell is throwing some elbows.
A master's degree in psychology for Jeff Monson from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Fought many years to stay warm. Now he's fighting for his life here against Chuck Liddell from the West Coast. And Liddell, when he gets up and has the opportunity to strike, will do so. He's also very creative when working with his hands, with his elbows, with his forearms. He has shown a great bit of versatility in his past fights when he's been able to throw some punches.
And Jeff Monson had the ability to get a takedown, but really hasn't followed it up with any kind of an attack. He seems a little bit lost as to what he wants to do when he gets behind Liddell, standing or on the mat.
2:37 remaining in round number one. If we reach the full time limit of 15 minutes, our judges, as introduced to you earlier by James Wormy, will render a decision. Liddell made his debut at UFC 17 as an alternate, as we mentioned earlier, winning against Noe Hernandez. Also was good with Jeremy Horn. A good sprawl there, a good bit of ability shown a moment ago.
Well, it seems as though Liddell now is measuring Monson. It looks as though he's ready to unload some kind of strikes, and Monson is just basically, he's not a stationary target, but his head's not moving, he's not doing any kind of feigning. His head's staying pretty much in the same place in relation to the rest of his body, making him a more easy target to hit.
Well, it's interesting, the couple of times that there's a left that grazes the chin of Jeff Monson, the couple of times that Monson has shot and brought Liddell down to the mat, Liddell has been able to get right back up. He's been able to stay very busy. Another example there, as opposed to a Kevin Randleman matchup where he'd get a smaller opponent down and never get back up in a good right kick. A moment ago as Tito Ortiz watching from a distance. He will defend his middleweight belt here this evening. There's another one.
You have to wonder if Monson cutting down from heavyweight, even though in Atlantic City he was ready to fight, he was on weight, so he's been there for a while. This hasn't been a big bounce or anything, but he seems a bit slower. It seems Liddell's hands are a lot faster than his are, and Monson right now just seems a little bit lost. You can see him wanting to back away, and it seems that he's really hesitant to try anything.
Now, there's the ultimate respect for the kickboxer. That certainly has to enter into the mind of anyone who enters into the octagon against that man. A good look at Chuck Liddell, 2-1 in the UFC, defeating shoot fighter Paul Jones in the first round of the matchup at UFC 22, opening up a big cut, forcing Big John McCarthy to end the evening for Jones and award the victory to Chuck Liddell.
And you often wonder if the two were supposed to meet in Atlantic City and that fight didn't happen. Was it a letdown, all that build-up, all that training, and now they're finally fighting, and you wonder if they're more conservative or if they're going to be more wide open.
There's a quick kick from Monson, not much damage done to Chuck Liddell. Good show of sportsmanship with 15 seconds remaining in round number one.
Yeah, that kick was a bit low. I think that's why you saw them touch gloves, but it wasn't a real power kick.
Monson is a junior tank, 6'2", tried to go high there. And now, you know, with the reach already of Chuck Liddell, his ability to go high, Monson only being 5'8", Jeff, he can try to graze, but if you do, you leave a leg exposed.
You certainly do, and the key to that is to try to keep no weight on the leg being kicked so that the leg is off the ground and will move when the kick hits it instead of absorbing all that punishment. Ice on the back of the neck of Jeff Monson, and again, he looks a little bit fatigued. He didn't put out all kinds of energy there, but it just seems that he isn't moving at full speed yet. Maybe in the second round, he'll have it together, get the nerves out of his system, you know, realize, hey, I'm in a fight, got to concentrate and focus.
You know, it's interesting. He did admit that his cardio is excellent. He feels good about his conditioning, but he also in the same breath admitted that yes, it is tiring trying to take his frame down from about 220 pounds to under 200 pounds here tonight. And if he had to bust to do it or not, Jeff, it's still a different body build than you have been accustomed to throughout your life.
And it's one thing to run at a good 95% and feel good at 95%, but when you get pushed and you have to sprint for survival and you get put into that 98, 99%, that's when it really wears you out. Is your body conditioned well enough to recover from that kind of output? Up to now, it's been Liddell stalking Monson.
And really not connecting yet with a big hit, but
I did
trying
like what
to
he
set
did.
it up.
He's kicking the leg, but
Yeah.
at the end of the round, first round, he went upstairs. So if he conditions Monson into thinking it's a leg kick all the time, he may open the door and we may see one of those big kicks hit the head of his opponent.
Well, Chuck in some pre-fight interviews said he feels he's striking better than he has in a long time. Got back with his old kickboxing instructor, John Hackelman, about 6 months ago. And Chuck has really been training hard, and you can see the welt on the left thigh area of Jeff Monson. You think those are just a quick hit? Well, consider yourself a quick snap of a baseball bat, because remember, this is a trained kickboxer who throws the hips into it, throws the shoulders into it, and brings that leg around with pretty good momentum.
Unless you're familiar with mixed martial arts or kickboxing, you really don't understand the power behind one of those kicks. Definitely bruising Monson's left thigh. And again, this is conditioning Monson into thinking leg kick. He almost caught Liddell's leg at one point, so he is zeroing in on leg kicks.
It's like with Maurice Smith back in December of 1997, or earlier than that, pardon me, when Maurice Smith chopped down Tank Abbott with those big kicks, and then came in December of 97 and lost in his heavyweight title fight to our present heavyweight champion, Randy Couture.
Again, another leg kick. Liddell staying with the attack that's working, smart fighting.
Still 3 minutes. You can hear the corner almost in an anxious way saying, Jeff, you have a lot of time left to work here in round number 2. Second of 3 5-minute rounds. Our referee, Mario Yamasaki, watching Chuck Liddell just kind of work with the kicks from the right leg to the left thigh.
And it's the same kind of pattern. Liddell moves in, gets in that distance where he can use his hands, and it seems Monson backs out the same way every time, giving Liddell that opportunity. And he even pulled his arms back. He did what we call telegraphing, letting your opponent know what you're about to try. And Monson clearly telegraphed that double leg. He'd rather wait for Liddell to miss with a strike and go under and use the momentum of following through to his advantage.
4-1 overall is Chuck Liddell in his mixed martial arts career. The one loss to Jeremy Horn.
Horn's a good one,
Yeah,
Mike.
Horn is excellent. Horn is absolutely spectacular. Gumby, meanest Gumby you'll ever meet, though. And look at the leg of Jeff Monson. And the thing that Chuck Liddell wants him to do, Jeff, as you know, and there's a hit to the right hand, to the left cheek, is he wants him to start thinking about that leg, flinch down, and that's when you leave the top half of your body exposed.
And Monson again on a double leg attack, but too far away, arms extended. It's not the best position to be in to take your opponent to the ground.
And when he has not been able to keep his opponent, Chuck Liddell, to the ground.
He's got good slippery hips, Liddell. Worked hard on his countering leg attacks, and it's showing right now. Monson, powerful wrestler, competed in the Pac-10 and the Big Ten, and Liddell able to keep him off his legs, off his hips.
Does that almost totally neutralize Monson here?
It appears so, because we haven't seen anything else out of Jeff Monson. There's a right hand over the top, but they're very few and far in between. It's almost waiting for Liddell to be right on top of him before he tries that kind of offense. He seems to have in his mind he needs the takedown to operate, and it's starting to show. And here he might have the opportunity. He caught one of those leg kicks, and this is where you'd like to get your opponent against the fence, but...
Oh, good combination. Just missed with the uppercut. Now Liddell comes right back, though. Tries to go high with the left.
Yeah, he went head hunting, and Monson was waiting for it. It seems Monson's acting like a wrestler in there, and that's not going to help him. When you get a man up against the fence, stay right in on the hips. There's nothing he can really do to you down there. You're close to his thighs. He can't near you, and because your head's buried so far, he really can't attack your head with his hands or his elbows. So you're in a pretty good position when you force your opponent up against the fence, and clearly you can be off balance driving into him, and the fence holds you up so that you can get a better grip on his hips or legs.
Happy to bring it right back up, but it is too much too late, or too little too late. The end of the second round, once again controlled by Chuck Liddell, the Iceman.
And a very quiet crowd once again. Japanese showing their respect to the fighters, allowing the corners to operate. And really, that comes from being a very educated audience as well, Mike. Japanese very familiar with the fight game, and they've obviously recognized the fact that Monson has taken some punishment in that left thigh. You can see the bruising there. And ice back to the back of the neck to help calm him, help him recuperate for the third round.
Give me 5 more minutes, Chuck.
Monson started wrestling in high school at the age of 16. He joked saying he was too short for basketball, and he didn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to swim practice. Liddell, definitely a great body to be a kickboxer. Long, lean, and a heck of a reach advantage over most of the opponents he's ever competed in a lot of different versions of mixed martial arts.
I liked it when his son was born that he wanted to call him Hoist, and his wife said, no, 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 no. Of course, after one of the greats in the octagon, Hoist Gracie, introduced the world to submission.
Yes, indeed. Introduced the world into the smaller man being able to bring the big man down to his knees. And still, when you talk to UFC fight fans, they talk about Hoist Gracie, and the ones in Japan are well versed about the UFC. They understand the magnitude of having the Ultimate Fighting Championship in their homeland, bringing the Super Bowl basically to the Far East, which is being done by the fine folks from SEG Sports for the 4th time in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Let's see if Liddell tries to go to a kill here in the 3rd round, or if he's comfortable at the standing of points in which he now sees himself, I would think, Jeff, with a sizable 2-round advantage.
Well, I think he won both rounds, so it would take a big round from Monson, a knockdown, or putting Liddell on his heels constantly here. And I'm not sure Monson has the skills right now to be able to do it. His takedowns are a little bit too extended, and even when he grabs the leg, he lets go of it so easily. I think he ought to move up the leg and attack the hips once he gets that close, and force your opponent into the fence and rip him from his feet there.
Well, when you blast, you have to blast and never try to come back from it, right? You got to really go into those legs and try to lock something in.
It's called a running tackle for a reason. You don't go halfway in, grab the leg, and stop running. You want to follow through. Particularly in this game. They may always be right for wrestling, but in this game called mixed martial arts fighting, you don't want to be sitting there stationary underneath an opponent.
3:22 remains in round number 3. If we go the distance, our 3 judges will render a decision. 2 Japanese judges. The American from Honolulu, Hawaii, making the trip halfway over the pond, if you will, to come to this beautiful venue for a great night of mixed martial arts competition. Started in the middleweight division. Our night will end with the middleweight title fight. Tito Ortiz will defend his belt against Yuki Kondo later still tonight. But first things first, Chuck Liddell, Jeff Monson now in the 3rd round, and there's a kick that really wasn't snapped back, but what can Monson do? He cannot seem to take advantage of his advantages in the fight game.
Well, he had the leg up with literally the heel up near his stomach, and what he did is he dropped down to the other ankle, allowing Liddell to bring that foot back down to the ground, put weight on it, and have the ability to counter. When you get that leg in the air, you want to get into the hips. There was something interesting. Watch Liddell's, watch Liddell's left foot. Each time that foot plants, he's either going to be looking to throw a punch or he's setting him up for a kick. Each time that leg plants, watch him. He coils. And you can see Monson react each time that leg does plant.
That one got him. That one got him. That is a heck of a bruise. And now he's starting to limp a little bit. And now, see, that's where you fade down a little bit, Jeff, and boom, the right hand becomes lethal. And again, Monson tried to shoot. And Liddell trying to finish this fight off. But see, he's happy to bring it right back into his world because he seems to have full confidence in his advantage when these 2 sets of fighters are on their feet.
Monson has offered no threat from the standing position whatsoever, and Liddell has answered every leg shot that Monson has tried with an effective counter. The closest Monson really has come to a takedown is off the leg kicks, trying to catch the leg, and it's not working for him. He's absorbing punishment to try for an opportunity he has yet to seize.
Once again, Mr. Tom Foley, U.S. Ambassador to Japan, in attendance here at UFCJ. We saw Mr. Foley when Kevin Randleman won his heavyweight title here in Japan a number of months ago.
He's setting it up. You can see Liddell start to coil. He doesn't put weight on that foot. He's measuring and trying to gauge the distance.
Now, Chuck said coming in, he feels like at this point in his career, Jeff is truly a pure wrestler. And so Chuck is not allowed Jeff to wrestle really at all here this evening. Just missed grazing with the right hand there. And under a minute remains in this first matchup of the night, middleweight division. Chuck Liddell, Jeff Monson. That's where we've seen Chuck take advantage. He slides that leg right back out and just missed going upstairs. That's where being 5'8", not 5'10", just helped Monson. But here comes Chuck Liddell.
Liddell kicking at the head and following it up with punches. Monson decides to go underneath to avoid that kind of striking. And he's got a hold of Liddell's leg, but he really isn't in any kind of a position to improve from it. Liddell up against the fence, but he's got his knees wide, based out nicely, and continues to throw strikes, and that's going to do it.
Look at that left leg of Jeff Monson. As the competitors, as always, show great class and great regard and respect to each other, and I think that's probably an early indication of what we'll see when the official judge's decision is rendered.
Now Chuck Liddell has some good leg kicks, and there another one to the thigh of Monson over and over and over throughout this fight.
Look at that. I mean, that is leaving his mark on his opponent.
And I guess that's a clear indicator as to who was leading who in this fight.
Let's get our official decision, as it will be handed inside the octagon. We'll hear the announcement of Shinshiro Matsuyama. Liddell was able to do basically what he wanted to do here this evening. That man, Jeff Monson, was unable to do the same.
All right, clearly Liddell had octagon control. He dictated pace, place, and position of the fight.
判定の結果をお知らせします。ジャッジ西30対27、ジャッジ梅木30対27、ジャッジ鮫島30対26、以上の結果3対0でレッドコーナーチャック・リデルの勝ちとなります。
So as we imagined it would be, congratulations goes to Chuck Liddell. He ups his UFC record to 3-1.
And that was a unanimous decision for Chuck Liddell. Shut down the offense of Monson, instilled his will, was able to use his standing skills to win this fight.
So Monson will go back to the drawing board. He will come back with a vengeance, and Liddell victorious in our first fight of the night. Take a look at it again. This was early in the action when Monson tried to wrestle, but Jeffy could never finish any of his wrestling techniques.
Even when he landed on the ground there after trying to throw Liddell to the mat, it was as if it was a one desperate attempt and then he had no answer. It's as though he was trying one move, then reevaluating. He never was able to chain wrestle or put together moves in a way that would lead from one into the next in a flowing fashion. Chuck Liddell, on the other hand, had it going. Not only was he able to kick the leg of Monson, but he could take it upstairs as well.
Our winner is backstage with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Joined by victorious Chuck Liddell. Chuck ups his UFC record to 3-1. Chuck, got to feel good about that victory.
Well, I feel good about it. He's a tough opponent, real good wrestler, you know, Abu Dhabi champ, and I kept him ineffective on the ground. He had a real hard time taking me down and made him work a lot. And then when he pulled me into his guard, I just hit him a little bit, got stood back up, played my game.
I'll say, definitely played your game. The kicks were there. The sprawls were working. Was that the game plan going in? Keep him away, keep things standing up for you?
Yeah, the game plan was just keep standing up the whole time. I was thinking of coming more at him at first, but then I started hurting him with that leg real good. So when I was hurting him with the leg, I just kind of backed off, just kind of started picking him apart and taking the leg. and then I was setting up the head kick, and he did a real good job of keeping his hands up. So, you know, I just wish I could have got that knockout for everybody here, and I just missed that head kick by about an inch to get the knockout. So, I mean, it was a good fight, and I hope everybody was happy with it. And my sponsor, Gordon Biersch and Station Casinos, I want to thank them. So I wish I could have got him a knockout. So.
Well, you'll have a chance next time. Chuck Liddell victorious in the octagon. Goldie, back to you.
Worm, thank you very much. Lightweight fight coming up next. Matt Hughes. How impressive has this young man been? Taking on Dennis Hallman. Matt Hughes is one of the top contenders in the UFC's lightweight division. A high school and collegiate All-America wrestler, Hughes made his octagon debut at UFC 22, scoring with his patent flying double leg takedown. Hughes dominated the fight start to finish, but had to wait until the judge's decision to claim the victory. At UFC 26, Hughes stepped into the octagon against Brazilian Marcelo Aguiar, again with a ferocious takedown, again dominating from the top position, but this time the fight would not go the distance. The fight was stopped, and Matt Hughes had won again. A mixed martial arts record of 18-1. Hughes looks to avenge his only loss tonight. That loss for Matt Hughes came in one of his first mixed martial arts competitions, 1998, Dennis Hallman and Matt Hughes, Extreme Challenge 21. What a difference inside just the surroundings, but the fight did not last very long, Jeff.
Matt Hughes went in for a takedown. Hallman slapped on a guillotine choke, and it was Hughes' first time in mixed martial arts, perhaps didn't recognize the danger of leaving your head away from the body and collapsing into the corpsman. Hallman choked Hughes out.
17 seconds. Dennis Hallman victorious, checks on Matt Hughes at Extreme Challenge 21. Obviously, Matt Hughes was okay. He has come back and won 18 straight matchups in mixed martial arts competition, but there is a certain revenge factor to tonight's matchup against Dennis Hallman. On the big stage, if you will, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC 29, here in Japan. Hallman, born in Olympia, Washington, now fighting out of Yelm, Washington. He trains with Matt Hume. He's managed with Matt Hume. His nickname is Superman. He said, when I was an amateur, I used to wear a Superman shirt. It was my lucky shirt, so the promoters called me Superman. Great submission, striking ability, and the Hume camp is good.
Very good. In fact, they say the Hume and Milotic camps are the two best camps out there to be a part of right now. That's what a lot of the critics are saying. And he's the beneficiary of getting some great tactical advice.
Matt Hughes may be one of the strongest fighters pound per pound in the Milotic camp today. Of course, we saw his twin brother Mark Hughes impressive in a UFC debut in Atlantic City just about a month plus ago. Jeremy Horn, Pat Milotic, all in the corner of Matt Hughes, who was oh so dangerous at 27 years old.
And he certainly has some great people to work out with. But you have to wonder, it's like being knocked out. It's never out of the back of your mind once it happens. And you have to wonder if that may play a part in the way he approaches this fight. He may come out conservative or avoid certain situations. But Matt Hughes is a great wrestler, tremendous at takedowns, physically powerful. He's in shape, great cardio, and he's getting great coaching, product of the military.
And the powerfulness of Matt Hughes is what we have seen displayed since he has began his career inside the octagon. He overpowers his opponents. He throws the punches with great power. I mean, he really obliterated Val Ignitov. It was a unanimous decision, but he took it to Val at UFC 22 in his debut. Marcelo Aguiar, a doctor stoppage at 4:15 of the first round at UFC 26. Matt Hughes is a very powerful young man at 27 years old. Both fighters 5'9". Both fighters come in under 170. Both are youngsters. Revenge, avenge, or another win for Hallman is really all that is left to be seen. Let's listen in to the introductions from our friends here in Japan.
デニス・ホールマン。若き日より数々のレスリングタイトルを総なめにした男。バーリトゥード戦績、なんと18勝1敗。唯一の黒星は今目の前にいるデニス・ホールマンからもらったお点。今夜必ずリベンジを果たす。178センチ 79kg from America Milotic Fighting System Red Corner Matt Hughes.
Interesting. You hear the explanation to the crowd of the loss to Dennis Hallman and the revenge factor that lies within. Mario Yamasaki, once again, our referee.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Here we go, first of 3 5-minute rounds between. Oh, this is his trademark.
The slam. Big slam, reminiscent of
Frank Shamrock, Igor Zinoviev.
exactly.
Oh, and again, oh my!
Yeah, but Hughes is in trouble. His arm's in trouble. Hallman's got him in an arm bar.
Oh my
that's gonna
goodness,
do it.
how does that happen? 2 slams, and it's over. And it's over because that man has flipped his way to victory. Dennis Hallman defeats Hughes again.
Wow. Oh, that was so fast. And that reminded me of Shamrock Jackson from our first one together, Goldie, back at UFC Japan in '97. Hughes, seemingly in total control, has it turned right around in the blink of an eye.
It is almost like Hallman had telegraphed a football pass and may have even anticipated Hughes trying to get the big throw early. Watching the tapes of Matt Hughes in the past, that is what he has done to his opponent. The big slam to break him down. Zeroed in on a limb. Hughes was unable to avoid, and Hallman, impressive here. Let's watch it real time from another angle.
Here comes the big slam.
Boom, you think he's in control.
But Hallman here, look at him, look at him, look at Hughes' left arm. He knows what he wants. He takes that slam just to get a crack at straightening the arm out, and he does, and Hughes has no answer there. He's got it tapped. Hallman, impressive. Here's a look at it in slow motion. Hallman's going to accept this slam just to get to this position that he wants. Even though Hughes is at side mount here, you see Hallman looking at Hughes' left arm. He now is looking to seize it. And right there he starts to put a grip on it. Brings his legs up high, and he may have faked going for a triangle, and right here Hughes makes a mistake. He starts to back out. Instead of moving forward and compressing, he's pulling himself out, and what that's going to do is start to straighten out the arm. And when he brings the leg up over the top on the far side of the head, he now has power to start to pull on the arm. Hughes has it flexed. But right there, look at Hallman reach up to grab the wrist. That's better leverage. He's going to get to straighten that arm out. And once he does, he gets to use his leg power. There you can see where the arm is. It's totally locked out straight. Hughes isn't done yet. He looks for some form of defense. There uses a little bit of a heel to try to get Hallman to break his lock, but Hallman knows what to do, and he locks it out, Mike.
Hallman knew he had it sunk in at that point, and he just zeroed in on the limb, and all of a sudden it became an entire strength of a body against just the strength of one limb. And Hallman, who has said that Matt Hume, his trainer, is an encyclopedia of submissions, certainly took a page out of his trainer's book here. Watching it, it's almost as if he had zeroed in on one thing and one thing only here in the first 20 seconds of the fight.
There, Hughes needed to drive over the top of the head of Hallman, compress him like in a backward roll, so that Hallman could not extend his body to extend Hughes' arm.
20 seconds is all it took, and Hallman is backstage with James Wormy.
Dennis Hallman victorious in his UFC debut. What happened?
Matt picked me up. Matt shot a takedown. I was gonna throw the right and shoot the takedown myself, but shot the takedown, lifted me up. I kept my composure in the air, and he came down. I adjusted my position and sank the armbar, and he tried to lift me up and slam me out of it, which is not the right way to escape an armbar.
Did you have it locked in from the moment he picked you up?
No, I locked it in on the way back down. So first of all, I'd like to thank Jesus Christ for giving me the strength and the will to do his way and become victorious tonight.
Dennis Hallman looking pretty strong in his UFC debut. Goldie, back to you.
Tell you what, you got that right. Very impressive young man, the 25-year-old, born in Olympia, Washington. Still great fights tonight, but get out your calendars, mark down these dates.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship presents Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000. 6 hours of action, 6 hours of excitement, 6 hours of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. These are the greatest fights and the greatest fighters to ever enter the octagon. Kick off your millennium with Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000, December 31st on pay-per-view. And remember, if it's not in the octagon, it's not real.
Attention UFC fans, because on Friday, February 23rd, the Ultimate Fighting Championship returns to pay-per-view and the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You'll see all of your favorite UFC stars in the most intense, full-contact event in sports today. Tickets on sale soon at the Taj Mahal box office and at all Ticketmaster outlets. The UFC in AC for another battle on the boardwalk. Don't miss it. Coming up later tonight here in Japan, lightweight championship between the champion Pat Milotic, the challenger Kenichi Yamamoto. Let's go backstage to Worm.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Here in Pat Milotic's dressing room. Pat doesn't want to talk. He's a few minutes away from fight time. He's putting his game face on, getting ready. He was hitting bags earlier. I'll tell you, the lightweight champ got off the plane a couple days ago. Came in uncharacteristically late, but he's ready. Says he's in some of the best shape of his life. Of course, Pat worked it to cut down to weight. He'll put some of that weight back on. His 4th title defense tonight. 2nd time fighting in Japan. 1st time as a UFC lightweight champion. Talked to Pat earlier. Champ means business tonight. Looking forward to seeing him put his belt on the line again. Goldie, back to you.
Well, I echo your sentiments, but before that, a middleweight matchup between Evan Tanner, he's been very impressive, and Lance Gibson Sr. Middleweight Lance Gibson Sr. enters the octagon for the 2nd time tonight. In one of UFC 24's most explosive bouts, Gibson made his UFC debut against Jermaine Andre. The fighter slugged it out for the first 2 rounds, with both displaying excellent offense and defense. However, in the 3rd and final round, it was Lance Gibson Sr. that scored with a wicked knee to take the knockout victory. He looks to build on that victory here tonight. Middleweight Evan Tanner burst onto the UFC scene back in January of 1999. Showcasing his many weapons, Tanner took out wrestler Daryl Golar with knees, kicks, and punches before slapping on the rear naked choke for the tap-out victory. He returned just a couple of months later at UFC 19. Again, the freestyle fighter impressed, this time with elbows and forearms before the referee stopped the bout. 2-0 in the UFC. It's been almost 2 years since Evan Tanner has entered the octagon. He returns tonight. So Evan Tanner set to take on Lance Gibson Sr. Another night of middleweights here this evening. Gibson will enter the octagon first, his birthplace, Toronto, Canada. He is now fighting out of Port Moody, British Columbia, right outside of the beautiful city of Vancouver, British Columbia. So he was already at the pond on his way over to the Far East.
And he's another Matt Hume protege. So often we see these good fighters migrate to those 2 trainers. Good striker, good with submissions. There it is, Matt Hume.
He is up at 8 o'clock every morning, takes his son to the gym. They both meditate, they both work out, they do a stretching and yoga routine. Very serious fighter, Lance Gibson Sr. Very serious fighter, Evan Tanner, the middleweight, born in Amarillo, Texas, fighting out of beautiful Norman, Oklahoma. He considers himself a freestyle fighter, does Evan Tanner, training with Steve Miller and others, managed by Phyllis Lee. And when it was, even though it was 2 years ago, when it was his time inside the octagon in prior matchups, it was his time to shine.
Tanner's got an arsenal behind him. He's got the ability to be able to pass guard, and he's got decent takedown skills as well. He's a tough man to remove from his feet, but most of all, and you could hear in that replay those elbows, those forearms connecting. And that's really his trademark. That's the kind of very short strike that he likes to use against his opponents, particularly when he's in the top position.
Well, Evan Tanner has the size advantage in the same regard as Chuck Liddell. Now, he's not quite as tall as Liddell, but Lance Gibson is not nearly as tall as Evan Tanner. So Evan Tanner will re-enter the octagon here this evening, telling us he's 4 or 5 times better than he has been in the past. He is 29 years old, and there's the reach advantage of 4 inches. The 6-footer Evan Tanner taking on 5'9", 194-pound Lance Gibson Sr., who does pack a punch with his pancration techniques. Let's listen in as the 2 competitors are introduced to our crowd here in Japan.
AMC Pancration, blue corner, Lance Gibson. USWF ヘビー級チャンピオン、98ネオブラッドトーナメントチャンピオン、タイトリストが今夜2年ぶりにオクタゴンに帰ってきた。パンクラスに君臨するサブミッションの伝道師、183センチ、90キログラム、フロムアメリカ、レッドコーナー、エヴァン・ターナー。レフェリー、マリオ山崎。
Tanner has no nickname. Lance Gibson's nickname, Fearless. Perhaps that will tell us something about this fight, which we are about to see. Middleweight division, Mario Yamasaki, once again our referee. This is the moment of anticipation, the build-up to what will we see now.
Are you ready? Let's go!
And here we go, middleweight fight, Gibson and Tanner.
Very interested to see how Tanner approaches Gibson. One thing we know about Gibson, he's got a chin. He got knocked down against Jermaine Andre, got back up and won the fight.
He took some punishment in that fight.
Yes, he did, and he held up well against it. And already Tanner pulling down on the head, trying to bring up his knees. Tanner, a very powerful individual. He talks about his opponent being strong. Tanner is a specimen.
Tanner's pre-med, Jeff, wants to be a doctor somewhere down the road, and right now he's trying to use some surgical procedures against Lance Gibson Sr. But Gibson with that quit rabbit punch got him in the chin on that one.
Well, whoever binds best, clinches best, is the person that's going to benefit him.
Oh, that's strong.
Nice foot sweep. It looked like a throw, but I think he got his foot up there to help block the leg and cause the rotation of Gibson to go down now on the mat.
Gibson caught him with a forearm shiver. Inside the guard of Lance Gibson.
Gibson going upstairs, maybe looking for a submission there. Anytime you see the legs raise up like that, you know that the bottom man is looking for a submission attempt.
Gibson has judo in his background. As I said, he's a very serious fighter as far as the way that he mentally approaches things. But with that pancration, with his judo, obviously he's able to work on the limbs if given the opportunity. Tanner just always seems to stay busy, though, as he gets the side mount here.
And he just flung that leg over the top.
Frank Shamrock, former middleweight champion, looking on at this middleweight division, which is very deep, and Tanner trying to stay busy, trying to deliver the right, and Gibson was able to block it down.
Actually, what I saw there too, Mike, was the fact that Tanner tried to step over and gain full mount in one quick little motion, but Gibson able to stop him from being able to do it. And look for him to throw the leg over the top again here and go for side mount. This is what he's done thus far. Gibson trying to kick, even trying to punch. Perhaps Tanner should be a little more careful as he's trying to pass that guard.
Tanner's fought in Japan before in other mixed martial arts and other fight organizations, so he's comfortable with the silence in this part of the country. Of course, fighters that get to this level have really fought all over the world. Lance Gibson and Evan Tanner, Frank Shamrock, who we saw a moment ago, a hero here in Japan. Who will be the heroes of the night? So far we've seen 2. Now we'll see who will win this matchup between Tanner and Gibson. All working towards our lightweight fight. Pat Milotic defends, as does Tito Ortiz. In the middleweight division, trying to take the back was Evan Tanner, could not do so.
Nearly had it, and all this is because he's trying to pass the guard. And I was shocked Gibson stayed up against the fence. He kept his head over there, and Tanner didn't really want to approach him. And now in the middle, Again, Tanner there, look for him to throw the leg by. That's what he's done thus far as his answer to get to side mount. There it is. That was so quick. Now he's where he wants to be. This is where Tanner likes to be, is in the side mount. He may raise up, put a knee in the stomach. Oh, there it is again. Those
and
short.
he used that effectively before. Used the forearm before, and that's 1, 2, 3 to the chin of Lance Gibson.
And that will get your attention quickly, particularly when it's that was a
Gibson's
good body
cut,
shot.
Gibson's cut. Gibson's bleeding.
That was a good shot to the belly of Gibson by Tanner. I don't think Gibson was ready for that at all.
And the elbow's effective. Well, after you get him 3 times upstairs, you have a tendency to let down and think about the next hit that's going to come from the forearm. And Tanner took advantage of that mental lapse in Lance Gibson Sr. So right now, Evan Tanner overwhelming here with just over a minute remaining in round number 1.
Yeah, he's bleeding out the nose pretty good, is Lance Gibson.
Tanner's mixing it up now high and low, Jeff.
It's good. This is great stuff. This is what fighters need to do, is you want to work the whole body and flow from one to the next. There he attacks the head, and as soon as he covers up the head, he immediately goes to the body. Very smart.
40 seconds, Lance, 40 seconds.
40 seconds, you hear the corner of Lance Gibson, Matt Hughes, one of the finest tacticians in the game, yelling in his instructions for his man, Lance Gibson, just to hold on. 30 seconds remains in the first.
And Tanner did a no-no there. He kind of kicked at the head of Gibson.
Mario
foul called.
Yamasaki's watching very closely, Jeff. Wants to make sure the fighters can intelligently defend themselves. Fighter safety of the ultimate importance here in the UFC. And now the full mount. And he's teeing off. Evan Tanner. Once, twice, and Mario Yamasaki steps in.
Do it. That's
and that will do it. Evan Tanner victorious here tonight in Japan. Great job done by our referee, Mario Yamasaki.
And it happened that quickly. Once Tanner got to the mount, it was all over for Lance Gibson. And there it is. It was a sweep. At first I thought it was a throw, but I thought I saw his leg go up to block Gibson's leg, and that clearly helped with the rotation to put Gibson on his back. And then once he got there, his trademark are those short elbows, missed with that first one, and there, starting to rain down on the head of Gibson, and they took a toll.
He considers himself a freestyle fighter. He is anything but free because those forearms are costly to the opponent. Evan Tanner wins by TKO right at the bitter end of round number 1. He mixes things up so well, Jeff.
Yes, he did. And we've all recognized Tanner as a great prospect, but he had to take some time off. It's been a couple years since he's been in the octagon, but his return, a spectacular one, displaying all kinds of skill from takedown to passing the guard to striking, and then, of course, being able to finish, which is something you just can't teach. That's got to be a natural element of any fighter.
He used the knees early, tried to pull Gibson into him. There's the takedown again that you talked about, and he just stays busy, and Gibson really couldn't counter from almost all positions. Even in the guard, Tanner was able to be effective.
Yes, he was. He's not afraid of staying in the guard, but he really worked hard to pass it. He tried numerous times.
He likes the side mount.
He does like the side mount, and it was those elbows that he delivers from that side mount.
Oh.
They're crushing elbows. And there, that quick little hop, he jumped from one side to the other right into the mount. And once he got there, he knew how to finish.
4:55 of round number 1, TKO for Evan Tanner. Backstage with our James Wormy as Yamasaki stops the fight.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Here with Evan Tanner, a victorious Evan Tanner, picking up right where you left off in the octagon, another win.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks, yeah. It was a tough fight. The jet lag really got to me this time. Lance did a great job. You got to have respect for anyone that gets out there and, puts it on the line. And I've got a lot of respect for Lance, anyone else that gets out there. Today just happened to be my day.
We've come to expect great knees, great elbows from Evan Tanner. Tonight was no different.
Well, yeah, they managed to work again, thank goodness.
Evan's back. You took a little bit of time off. We haven't seen you since UFC 19. Do you feel like you're back in fighting shape?
Yeah, I'm back in fighting shape. I didn't get to train nearly as much this time as as I like to. Usually I train, I get a lot more training time in, but I'm working with the USWF back in Amarillo, my fight company, and took a lot of time working with that. Didn't really get much time to train.
Evan Tanner, 3-0 in the octagon, looking as good as ever. Goldie, back to you.
Worm, thank you very much. Next on the card, lightweight matchup. Fabiano Iha, ready to take on Daiju Takase. Lightweight jiu-jitsu expert Fabiano Iha returns to the octagon fresh off a victory at last September's UFC 27. In a rematch with UFC veteran Laverne Clark, Iha avenged his previous loss to the power puncher by slapping on a perfect upside-down armbar just 1 minute into the fight. Laverne was done, and a very happy Fabiano Iha had picked up his first victory in the UFC. He looks to continue his winning ways tonight. Now, certainly a sense of relief that night for Fabiano Iha, avenging his UFC loss to Laverne Clark. And now with a mixed martial arts record of 4 wins and 3 losses, he looks ahead to fighting one of the Japanese fighters on the card this evening, Daiju Takase. Iha coming in with his gi. He has a great jiu-jitsu and Vale Tudo background. He is born in Santa Catarina, Brazil, now fighting out of Huntington Beach, California. He is a dangerous young man.
Has submission skills, likes to strike. And the fact that he fought Laverne Clark twice, and I have a lot of respect for Laverne Clark's skills. He's got great hips, he's got big hands and big fists, and he was able to weather the storm. In fact, in the first fight, even though he had a huge gash opened up from a Laverne Clark punch, he nearly had a submission near the end of that fight. So I'm sure he's going to be looking at his improvement as his gauge of success, not his record. He brings in a great submission background. He's worked hard on his stand-up skills, trying to round out his fighting style, and is concentrated more now on cardio.
Fabiano Iha has told some of our experts in the mixed martial arts world amongst the UFC that he has Japanese background in his blood. Half Japanese, half Brazilian, I suppose. He has lived in the United States of America the last 3 years. Fabiano Iha, 1-2 in the UFC. Overall, though, very impressive in his mixed martial arts career. Looks in great shape coming in at under 170 pounds.
He's definitely a specimen, Mike, in great physical condition.
His opponent, Daiju Takase. And look at the fanfare that comes across when the Japanese fighter comes in. He is from Tokyo, so he will be fighting in front of his hometown crowd. But they're not overly vocal, so you wonder if that truly is a benefit or not. You know one thing, he did not have to travel very far to come into the arena tonight.
Well, I would say that is a huge thing when people are flying across oceans. But certainly the fact that you're in your home has to aid you with your confidence. Takase, very quick, and he needs to use that to outmaneuver Iha. He wants to prefer to strike, and that might be the way to go after Iha. Obviously, Iha well-versed in submission tactics, and that was how he defeated Laverne Clark the second time, was with an armbar. So striking might be Takase's answer.
Iha, 8 years older and 4 inches smaller than his Japanese opponent, Daiju Takase. You get a good look at Fabiano Iha in the blue corner. Let's see if the crowd reacts to the introduction of both Iha and Takase.
From Brazil, blue corner, Fabiano Iha. (80キログラムに満たない男が310キロの敵を倒すということが想像できるであろうか。それをやってのけた彼は今誰よりも早く次の勝ち星を欲しがっている。180センチ、77キログラム、from Japan、話術研修会、レッドコーナー、高瀬大樹。
Good warm welcoming for Daiju Takase. Still looking for his first win inside the octagon here this evening. Our referee for the rest of the night, our head referee, working in over 20 UFC matchups in his career, Big John McCarthy. Here we go. First of 3 5-minute rounds. Daiju Takase, Fabiano Iha.
Takase missing wildly with that leg kick, but perhaps trying to send a message to Iha about trying to work inside.
What do we look for early in this one, Jeff?
They're going to measure distance first. If one of them feels confident with striking, they'll go after that. But I think Iha wants this fight to go down on the ground, whether he's on top or bottom. I think he's going to want to see it on the ground. And nice single leg, and he puts Takase right away on his back.
He has won the majority of his fights with an armbar. Has Fabiano Iha.
Look at it. I think he's crawling back to Brazil, or he's going to put Takase up against the fence. And look at that. Iha wasted no time. He immediately moved from the center of the octagon to pinning his opponent up against the fence. Quite a common tactic we've seen and successfully employed by the better fighters. Limit the range and motion of your opponent.
You cannot hold on to the fence. You cannot use the fence to your benefit as far as grasping it for leverage, but you can use it to limit where your opponent can go and spin. Almost on a football field, taking away half of the part of the football field where the receivers can get open.
Or pinning your, receiver against the sideline, so he really has no place to run away from you. He's got to run downfield.
This is a little different looking right here.
Well, it's full guard. It's just that Iha has gotten to the standing position, and Takase doesn't want to let go of the guard. He wants to keep Iha in that.
Iha trying to tee off with the right.
Well, Takase hit him with a right hand himself, and after he did that, Iha now coming back strong, looking at striking, but he's hanging onto the fence.
What's the danger here for Takase?
Well, Takase right now is trying to extend, keep his head as far away from Iha as possible to make himself difficult to hit. But I would work away from the fence. You never want your head pinned up against the fence. You become stationary. Once you're stationary, it's a lot easier to get struck.
Former UFC fighter Valis Ismail in the background, good friend of Fabiano Iha's. Iha formerly in the entourage of the great Royce Gracie in the early UFCs. Now it seems like it's his fight. He works the knees a little bit. The guard is still applied, but Iha's just looking for an opportunity to start teeing off, and he is throwing a barrage of right, and lefts, and McCarthy steps in, and this one is over. Wow!
It happened fast, Mike. But it looked as though Takase reached and grabbed Iha's ankle, and when he did, he had no defense to cover up his face, and Iha tagged him.
I mean, this was an odd position that this fight eventually went to, but Fabiano Iha impressive throughout this entire first round, throughout the entirety of the fight.
Nice single leg there, able to drop Takase down.
Took him right where he wanted somehow,
and then
some
here,
way.
he knew where he wanted to go. People probably wondered, where is he traveling to here? But he wanted to pin Takase up against the fence. And right there, when he reaches down to grab the ankle, that was the punch right there that did it. You could see Takase immediately turn away. And when that happens, that is not defending yourself in an intelligent fashion. McCarthy immediately stopping the fight.
So Fabiano Iha gets his second victory in the UFC, showing great respect to his home nation and the nation in which he is fighting tonight, the Japanese fighters. But Fabiano Iha, a winner by TKO here in round number 1. Takase up and out of the octagon. Iha very spiritual. Thanks to the men upstairs for the power for him to be victorious again here this evening. He is getting stronger each time we see him.
He's definitely improved, and he's gone up against some tough opponents, and I think that really shows that he's on a learning curve of improvement, which is what you need. He's only going to get better, and he looked great tonight.
So Fabiano Iha defeats Daiju Takase in impressive fashion. So back-to-back wins now for Iha, moving up amongst the contenders in the lightweight division, which presently has the champion Pat Milotic as its leader. Milotic will fight later tonight. Watch again the tacticianer Fabiano Iha.
Beautiful single leg takedown. Takase, very aware of where he is, immediately gets full guard, but already thinking is Iha, saying, you can have full guard, but I'm putting you up against the fence. And Takase, I believe, realized that he was on his way to the fence, and here is trying to move, but tremendous power and determination by Iha, gets his opponent where he wants him, and then once he got him there, he knew what to do, and that was to start and strike. And curiously, Takase stayed in this guard in this kind of an extended position a little bit too long, but his true downfall is when he used his left arm to reach and try to grab Iha's right ankle and perhaps unbalance him and knock him over backwards. The instant he did this, he no longer had a block to stop Iha's right hand. And that was the beginning of the end.
Once exposed, shortly thereafter finished. Impressive Fabiano Iha backstage with our James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Joined by Fabiano Iha, another quick winner over Daju Takase. Take us through it. It was a quick one.
Thanks God, it was a quick one. You know, I don't want to be fighting longer here in Japan. We're still feeling the jet lag, and press God. Thank you God for the quick fight.
Take us through it. You engaged, and then he wanted to go down. Take us through it.
Yeah, basically, like I was kind of feeling how good he is in stand-up. I've been training a lot of stand-up, so I was kind of like confidence in stand-up. So I was waiting for the right time to take him down because I know he's a wrestler. So I said, like, maybe I'm gonna try taking him down. I'm gonna try block the takedown and do something else. So I wait for the right moment, took him down, take him to the middle of the octagon, all the way to the fence, so I have a better chance to strike him over there, get a good base, and start to punch him in the face, and he give up.
Were you surprised? You're an armbar specialist. Were you surprised he wanted to go at it with you on the ground?
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. I was like, in my mind, that was good because I think, oh, you wanna try get me on the armbar? No way, dude. Boom.
So you're really Japanese? So what? Half Japanese? What's the story?
Yeah, my dad is Japanese. He's from Okinawa, and my mom is Brazilian, so I'm half Japanese, half Brazilian. Yeah, you're right.
So how have you felt being here all week and enjoying the Japanese fans? The Japanese fans are real supportive, overwhelming support of the UFC. Have you felt that here yourself?
Yes, actually, like I have a lot of fans here, and I hope after this fight, you know, he don't take like bad because I was fighting Japanese guy, and I hope he like look for the good way, and I can get more fans and fight more here.
2 wins in a row in the octagon for Fabiano Iha. A little momentum in the lightweight division. Goldie, back to you.
Worm, thank you very much. If you missed it earlier, get your calendar out immediately, get your pen ready, and mark down these upcoming UFC dates.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship presents Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000. 6 hours of action, 6 hours of excitement, 6 hours of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. These are the greatest fights and the greatest fighters to ever enter the octagon. Kick off your millennium with Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000. December 31st on pay-per-view. And remember, if it's not in the octagon, it's not real.
Attention UFC fans, because on Friday, February 23rd, the Ultimate Fighting Championship returns to pay-per-view and the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You'll see all of your favorite UFC stars in the most intense, full-contact event in sports today. Tickets on sale soon at the Taj Mahal box office and at all Ticketmaster outlets. The UFC in AC for another battle on the boardwalk. Don't miss it. To stay up to date on all the happenings in the Ultimate Fighting Championship world, your website of choice, SEG.com. And for the best in internet talk radio, dial it in every day, IATA.com. Eddie Goldman talks full contact fighting weekdays on that internet station. Still ahead, Tito Ortiz, Yuki Kondo. Tito Ortiz is backstage with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. I want to take this opportunity, as long as we're backstage, to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you happen to be celebrating. It's great that you're celebrating the UFC with us tonight. We're backstage again. We're going to catch up with our middleweight champ, Tito Ortiz. He's putting his game face on right now. Tito, putting your belt for the first time on the line tonight, again in Japan. What goes through your head right now?
Not making any mistakes, letting stuff happen naturally like I do in the gym. Kondo's a tough opponent, but you're going to see a lot better Ortiz. I'm just have to stick to a game plan and let shit happen.
It's been about 8 months since you've been in the octagon, Tito. Any rust?
No rust at all. Just a lot of chrome. So hopefully it'll be shining out in the octagon.
It usually does when this guy steps into the UFC. Tito, take us through what goes through a fighter's head at this time. You're thinking about the fight. What are your plans for Kondo?
Taking him down, punishing him with elbows, looking to open him up quick. Just taking him out of the game right off the bat. I know he wants to stand up with me. He's not comfortable being on the ground. So you're going to see a submission come, elbow come, whatever. I'm just here to win my fight and defend my belt.
Any predictions for tonight?
Over by the 3rd round.
Tito Ortiz, middleweight champ. Back to you, Goldie.
Worm, thank you very much. A very determined Tito Ortiz. He'll have to wait, though, until we see this fight contested. Next up, Yoji Anjo against the Olympic silver medalist Matt Lindland. Jeff, you were in Sydney. You saw Matt compete in the recent Olympic Games.
And Matt was fun to watch. He was able to really do well there, displaying all kinds of skill. There, a beautiful reverse body lift. Here, a straight out body lift, but fell short in the finals to the Russian. He lost there 4-1, but to win an Olympic silver medal, particularly in today's Olympics with the breakup of the Soviet Union, is a huge statement of the kind of skill you have.
5-time national champion. His nickname the Law, Matt Lindland, who is training with our UFC heavyweight champion Randy Couture. Not a surprise that the wrestlers have teamed up together.
Lindland is a smart competitor. He's been the most consistent Greco-Roman wrestler through this last quadrennium. And the instant he stepped off the mat in Sydney, he asked me about the UFC, and he got his shot here in November. Excellent wrestler, particularly upper body. Likes to work in the clinch. In other words, he wants to be tied up to his opponent, not separated.
A la Randy Couture.
Right, exactly. And of course, the one thing all wrestlers have to learn right away are submissions.
Well, he will take on the Japanese fighter Yoji Anjo, who trains every single day and fought back in 1997, our first show together in the heavyweight tournament, lost to Tank Abbott, and then in April of 2000, Yoji Anjo in Japan lost to Murilo Bustamante. His nickname, Mr. 200%. He will need all 200 of those percentage points to be competitive against the silver medalist.
I agree with that 100%. Bust a move
You
is
agree
one
with that
tough.
200%,
Bust a move is one tough Brazilian, and for Anjo to go out there and go up against him tells you that he has courage. But he's going to need a lot here against Matt Lindland. Anjo, bit of a professional wrestling background as well. Trained in submission, is trained in kickboxing, and with that pro wrestling background, you're not quite sure how athletic he truly is. But he's in against one tough athlete. He ain't a pro wrestler, he's an Olympian.
Well, one thing Lindland does know already is how much of a warrior that man Yoji Anjo, getting some last-minute directions from our referee John McCarthy is. He says he remembered the punishment that Tank Abbott gave Anjo. He has the heart of a lion. He is a year older, an inch shorter, and the poundage is really not much of a difference here in this middleweight matchup between the young man from Oregon and the young man from Tokyo, Japan.
The question I have about Matt Lindland will be his striking capabilities.
Absolutely.
Have not seen him go toe-to-toe with anyone yet. Anjo we saw go toe-to-toe with Tank Abbott. He wasn't successful, but he was able to weather the storm.
Special ceremony right now inside the octagon. Yoji Anjo is a huge hero in this nation, getting some kind words from his countrymen, respect, and an envelope.
An envelope. And I've seen a lot of sumo special ceremonies, and they hand a lot of envelopes out, and you got to ask the question, what is in the envelope? And the only thing I can think of is good old green cash.
Do-re-mi, but it wouldn't all be green in Tokyo. It might have different colors, right?
You are correct. The yen is a little different from the dollar.
You got that right. It confuses you and I every time we have to try to figure out how much money you are truly spending. Lindland is ready. He fought and he wrestled, pardon me, in the Olympics. It was a fight, obviously. But this is a different type of fight. And up until the Olympics in September, doesn't provide him with a lot of time to truly devote to this UFC fight game. It's not as if wrestlers can't strike. Randy Couture is a perfect example, Jeff, but he has not had a lot of time, has Matt Lindland, to work precisely on his striking skills when you're out in Australia winning a gold medal. Will that turn into an advantage for Yoji Anjo? Only time will tell us.
Lindland, I'm sure, has had this in the back of his mind for some time. He let it all sit while he trained for the Olympics, and he capitalized on that training. He's got a great name now. He's 3-0 in mixed martial arts. Perhaps the biggest name he's defeated, Travis Fulton. And he did it in 22 minutes and 13 seconds, which is an obvious display that Lindland has staying power.
And his trainer, Randy Couture, the perfect example of those techniques. Referee once again, Big John McCarthy, ready for another middleweight matchup. Here we go. First of 3 5-minute rounds. Lindland, his UFC debut, third time inside the octagon for the Japanese hero, Yoji Anjo.
And it is quite different. What a contrast to see Lindland's hands up to protect his head in a boxing posture versus that of a wrestler.
Has the wrestling shoes on, does Yoji Anjo.
Both fighters measuring distance. Lindland likes to clinch. He openly said that. And I believe, like Randy Couture, as you pointed out, Mike, he wants to have his opponent close. Oh, knees to
Active
the head.
knees, absolutely.
Front headlock position, and Lindland with that right knee
From
is
behind,
pounding.
just the way he looks, the body type, the haircut. Yeah, somewhat of a haircut. Looks like it could be Randy Couture doing damage, doesn't it?
I want to clarify, Mike, that you're the one that said that, but yes, 100% correct, and taking full advantage of the position. And now even walking up the octagon to keep the angle right so Anjo can't take him down.
You know both Randy and Matt as wrestlers very, very well. Would we expect to see Lindland be somewhat of a Randy Couture clone?
I would say yes, because they're both approaching it from a wrestler point of view, learning MMA. And that's really the road they both had to take. And the first thing you want to learn is don't get caught quick. And it's very apparent that Lindland knows what he's doing. He's in a full mount now. He was able to counter that leg shot by Anjo. And
now he's working the chin with the left elbow. Just a little something to throw Anjo off his game.
part of that is to regain balance, perhaps sit up so that now you have an opportunity to rain strikes down. And now we get a chance to see Lindland punch. I've never seen him really punch.
Oh, he's got the full mount still, Jeff. He's really trying to work over his opponent.
Straight shots, they're not big roundhouses, which is the way you want to do it when you're in the mount position. You don't want to use a lot of momentum or power in the upper body, because if one of those roundhouses miss, it pulls you off balance. Punching straight down in straight lines is the most efficient and perhaps the most effective way to deal with an opponent.
Look at Lindland work over Yoji Anjo. Now with the elbows, the left once, twice, three times. Still in the full mount. And McCarthy looking very closely, making sure that Anjo can intelligently defend himself.
And he's not going to be able to shake Lindland from this position. Matt, with all that wrestling background, this is a common position of pinning an opponent. And there's no way Anjo's going to simply buck him off. He's going to have to find another way to turn the tables on Lindland. And while he's thinking,
he's going to have to do it
he's
quickly.
absorbing
yeah, he's
some
going to have to
punishment.
do it really quickly because Matt is just absolutely teeing off on Yoji Anjo. More with the right hand, again and again, and this one's over. This one is over. What an impressive debut for Matt Lindland, the Olympic silver medalist.
Lindland trying a jab here. We'll look at some of the highlights of this fight. Anjo in on a leg shot, but Lindland sliding down to a front headlock and then using this leverage to keep Anjo down. He used, actually, you can see his left foot entwined. He used an inside trip to bring him down, and immediately when he regains his balance, he starts bringing in the knees. And there's nothing more frustrating than having your head buried under an opponent's chest. You can't clear it, and he's throwing knees at you. Once he got to the mount position, started punching and raining elbows, and once he was able to sit up straight, he started bringing down the straight punches, and that was the end of Anjo.
As I said during the fight, some of the replays would make you think that that is Randy Couture in there, and Matt Lindland, I hope, will take that as the ultimate of compliments as he shows the ultimate respect to his opponent, Yoji Anjo.
Well, comparing him to the heavyweight champion of the UFC, I would tend to think it's a compliment.
You got that right. Impressive winner by TKO in his UFC debut. Matt Lindland wins over Yoji Anjo, and he is having a good time celebrating his victory inside the octagon. You questioned if we would see an ability to strike or not from this 30-year-old silver medalist. We saw him strike with knees, with elbows, with forearms. Very versatile.
Lindland's riding a winning streak. Did well in Sydney, did well in Japan. What's next? Perhaps a shot at the middleweight championship down the road somewhere.
Well, he certainly looked impressive here against Yoji Anjo. Good way to come out and impress the UFC faithful.
Well, I liked it. He didn't even commit his hips fully there. There's that nice inside trip with the front headlock that put Anjo down, and I like this. When Anjo's trying to get his body up off the mat, he's reining the knees down, and that tells me that he's been practicing. And who better to practice with than a Randy Couture, another very cerebral athlete, a thinker.
And then he just closes it down here. 2:58 of round number 1. The official referee stoppage by TKO. Big John McCarthy jumps in as Lindland was overwhelming Yoji Anjo. So congratulations to Matt Lindland, the silver medalist, backstage with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Joined by Olympic silver medalist and now UFC victor, Matt Lindland. Matt, how'd it feel out there in the octagon?
Great, James. Thanks. Felt great. I mean, I was expecting me to take him down, shoot in, and do the takedown, but he shot in, changed my game plan a little bit. But I felt great. I got on top right where I probably feel the most comfortable, and I mean, it seemed like could have been a slow fight, you know, because we're both circling, and as soon as we made contact, I felt like it was all my fight.
We talked earlier, and Matt was telling me he hasn't wrestled since the Olympic Games. Is that true?
I haven't wrestled once. I've just been training with Randy and with Robert and Jeff Monson, and doing, you know, Randy's club out there in Oregon, doing a great job. The guys at Straight Blast Gym are helping me out with my boxing, and I'm just feeling really good.
Looking pretty good too. Let's bring in the heavyweight champ, Randy Couture. What do you think about this guy? Looked pretty good in his UFC debut.
Yeah, I think he looked fantastic. We're just scratching the surface. He's learned so much in the last 3 months, and it's really making a difference in his fighting style.
It's really making a difference when wrestlers who are excellent at takedowns and ground control can start to learn submissions and striking. I'm sure you'd both agree.
Yeah, I mean, I've got submissions, and I almost went for him in that situation, but I felt like I had so much position to where I could just pound, and I mean, I felt like I saw a submission there, and I just didn't go for it. But I can feel him now. I'm starting to see him.
This is the first time we've got a chance to talk to the champ since he wore that belt again. How's it feel to be champion again, Randy?
Fantastic. Great.
Matt Lindland, Randy Couture, solid team, doing a lot of solid work up there in the Northwest. We're going to see a lot more of this guy in the future. Goldie, back to you.
Worm, thank you from our heavyweight champion to our lightweight champion. Pat Milotic, set to defend his belt against Kenichi Yamamoto. Kenichi Yamamoto made his UFC debut back in the middleweight tournament at UFC 23. Taking on Daiju Takase in the first round, Yamamoto dominated from within Takase's guard for most of the match en route to the decision victory. In the finals, he took on Katsuhisa Fuji. Again, the action was on the ground, but this time, Yamamoto was able to lock in the submission and win by tap out. Moving down from middle to lightweight, Kenichi Yamamoto gets his shot at Pat Milotic's UFC lightweight crown tonight. UFC lightweight champion Pat Milotic has never lost in the octagon. A perfect UFC record of 6-0. Milotic has won in just about every way possible. By decision, by TKO, and Pat Milotic truly in control of defending his title, and he has done it. The fight has been stopped. And by submission. Now looking to finish it with the submission, and he does. Milotic remains the lightweight champion of the world. One of the most experienced and well-rounded fighters in mixed martial arts today, Milotic has the Muay Thai experience to stand and exchange, as well as the jiu-jitsu technique to grapple and look for submission. In his last trip inside the octagon at UFC 26, Milotic wowed the hometown crowd with an upright armbar submission over young rookie John Alessio. It was his first defense in a year, and the champ showed he was as effective as ever. Tonight, putting his belt on the line for the 4th time and fighting in his first UFC from Japan, the Croatian sensation returns to the octagon. And he is fun to watch. In what way will he be challenged tonight by Kenichi Yamamoto is the only question left. Yamamoto considers himself a grappler. He trains on his own. He is single. He has been in the UFC on a couple of occasions. UFC Japan, the UFC Japan tournament winner. Training about 5 days a week right now for this fight, 4 or 5 hours a day. Almost all of his training, Jeff, has been solely in submissions.
Well, perhaps he feels that's his best strength. And quite often people talk about build on your strengths, don't always work on your weaknesses as a way to go out there and perform. And maybe he feels that's the best way to survive against Pat Milotic, is to be able to grapple with him on the ground instead of striking. Yamamoto will be good at submissions. All the Japanese are very well versed. He has tried to improve his stand-up, and he's been tagged as a methodical fighter, but so has Milotic. So I don't hold that against him as long as you win.
And it's the ultimate goal of anyone in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Win, baby, win, just like Al Davis would say, and this man has won in a lot of different disciplines throughout his fine fighting career. So Kenichi Yamamoto gets the biggest opportunity of his fighting life, a chance to capture the UFC lightweight belt against undefeated Pat Milotic, who has built himself up a stable of the greatest fighters in the entire world. Milotic has the Hughes brothers, Mark and Matt, Jens Pulver, who was extremely impressive last time in Atlantic City, Jeremy Horn carrying in the lightweight belt behind their leader, the Croatian sensation, Pat Milotic.
And Milotic is such a steady performer. That's why I admire him so. To use a Clint Eastwood line, you got to know your limitations, and Milotic is very aware. Very good striker, and he continues to improve there. We've seen him submit people. He got an arm bar in his last appearance in the octagon. And if there's one thing you know Milotic is going to be when he walks in there, that's prepared and in shape.
6-0 in the UFC. That last fight you were talking about, Jeff, was the armbar against the Shark Tank fighter John Alessio at 145 of the second round at UFC 26. Pat recently married, went to Bora Bora for his honeymoon, had an absolutely wonderful time, said he gained about 10 pounds. Believe me, that 10 pounds is gone, and he is back. Coming in as our champion at 32 years old. Yamamoto is only 24 and 2 inches taller than our lightweight champion, Pat Milotic. Age and experience certainly a factor as you assess this matchup.
You can't put a price tag on experience, Mike. Experience is knowledge. Experience is a calmness before the storm. And an experience is realizing fear can be overcome.
Yamamoto will try to overcome the undefeated champion, Pat Milotic. If you don't think Pat Milotic is for real, ask his many opponents who have fallen to the Croatian sensation, be it Chris Brennan or Townsend Saunders, be it Mikey Burnett, be it George Patino, be it Andre Pederneiras, John Alessio, and those are just some of the UFC wins for this man who has had an incredible mixed martial arts career. Thought about retirement for a while. UFC fans, mixed martial arts fans are glad he decided against it.
Well, I can think of 2 commentators that are awful happy he stuck around. And something comes with having a non-injured body. And Milotic went through some injuries, and that was right around the time we heard the rumors of his retirement. He seems healthy now. He seems a lot happier now, and it's showing up in his performances.
Lightweight belt on the line. Big John McCarthy, our referee. First of 5 potential 5-minute rounds here tonight. Milotic very quick to try to work the top side of his opponent, Kenichi Yamamoto. Oh, the knees.
And again, the Japanese fighter is staying in a front headlock with his head exposed. Milotic bringing down his knees, a very effective tactic, a smart tactic.
Is he trying to land a choke also?
I don't think he's landing a choke while he's throwing the knees. He's looking clearly at just tossing the knees and see what he can do with them. And Milotic wants the fight to go standing, so he's not going to stay down there. McCarthy will bring Yamamoto to the standing position. And I wonder what Yamamoto did with that opening shot.
Oh my, what a shove there.
Milotic, nice double leg. Switched to the hips, rotated him around and slammed him. But he is in Yamamoto's guard. He'll operate from here, and we've seen Milotic here. He stays busy, throwing short, crisp punches, both from the outside and straight down.
Open guard, closed guard, open again. Yamamoto should be comfortable in the guard, but you know what? Pat Milotic wants nothing to do with it. Yamamoto will stand up again. Can he throw them as well as Pat Milotic?
Well, he's moving his hands a lot, but they're not doing anything there. Rather curious way
Just showing the side of his body. A karate technique almost where you don't show your opponent the front. Give them less of a target. Trying to line up for a potential kick, perhaps.
And they both trade kicks there. Nothing very definite by either fighter. Really no commitment to trying to hurt. That one was thrown with some intention on it by Milotic.
Hey, he's really lined up at a different angle than we will see in a boxing matchup or even in some of our UFC matchups.
I would tend to think Milotic is going to want to throw his right leg here because that would be coming in. The arc would be coming into the front of Yamamoto. Yamamoto in on a single. Milotic getting his hips squared. Good sprawl now. Full weight. Great leverage. Yamamoto has no chance of picking him up.
Oh, big right hand from Pat Milotic.
And that was terrific timing, Mike. He waited for Yamamoto to pop up from going to his guard, and as soon as he did, he made him eat a right hand.
So the first big hit of this matchup scores in favor of Pat Milotic. Yamamoto has Milotic in his guard. Now he's trying to hold him tight and keep Pat from doing what you have said he's done well before. That is the quick punches. Look how Pat tried to work Yamamoto to the fencing, and then Kenichi Yamamoto a good job at spinning it around, but Milotic wants nothing to do with a grappling match this evening. I would think that's a compliment to his opponent, other than that he feels that the best that he has right now is on his feet. He knows Yamamoto's world is best served on the mat.
I guess that'd be like saying if Shaquille O'Neal wants to take 30-foot jumpers, you go ahead and let him do it. You don't have to go out there and cover him if you don't want to.
Absolutely.
And what Milotic is saying is, hey, I think I could grapple with you, but I don't think you could stand up with me at all, and I want to find out if that's true. And thus far, that has been his strategy.
It's a good analogy, partner.
And the tactic that he's using right now, basically, is every time he's even or just can't get an offense going, he backs out of being on the ground. Says, come on back up to the feet. We'll play here.
McCarthy tells Yamamoto no holding on to the fence. In the fighters' meetings that take place prior to the competitions, John McCarthy, very thorough with his presentation of the rules to the fighters and competitors in the UFC. Yamamoto cannot use the fence to grab onto, to work an advantage, as Pat Milotic is trying to work over Kenichi Yamamoto.
He's trying to get the full mount. He hopped over the top. He's got a neck crank in there.
Very active with the knee. Wow!
Milotic really has his eyes open, transitioning well from position to position and looking for the opportunities. Great recognition. Perhaps that's the best word, is always understanding exactly where you are. Flow is also something in which you've got to get into the fight so that your timing is that of in sync with your opponent, so you can start those kinds of strikes. And that's where that wealth of experience that Pat Milotic, through his years of training and all the fights that he's had, really capitalizes on.
Only 3 losses for Pat Milotic in over 30 mixed martial arts matches. As successful as we have ever seen in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And he knows the game he wants to play. He has played it his way here in round number 1 as it comes to conclusion.
And in addition to him scoring with those strikes, with takedowns and such, he's also frustrating his opponent. And there's nothing worse, and I'll always remember what Frank Shamrock says. He says, if you prepare from the worst first, from the worst position you can imagine, then you're always going to know what to do. And thus, fear is overcome. And I think that's the big thing that experience, and particularly the amount of experience that someone like a Pat Milotic has as lightweight champion, really helps. He doesn't necessarily have to beat you. He can frustrate you and then beat you.
Now Pat talks about taking into consideration what you just said about working from the worst first. He feels like he works against the best first every day, talking about how some of the toughest fights that he's ever been involved in have been within the four walls of his own gym. McCarthy to get the second underway. We get it on here in the second round, second of a potential five-minute rounds here with the lightweight belt on the line.
See if Milotic continues the tactic of standing up from here. And what you surmised about Milotic is true. The will to win is important, but not near as important as the will to prepare to win. And that is what we've seen from our most successful fighters in the octagon, is they lay it on the line. They put pride down to learn. Oh, nice left
big
hook.
left, wow. And he has, because he's taken the criticism, and look at the way he continues to strike, and he brings a lot of pro boxers. Pat has told me personally, he says, I get the tar beat out of me day in and day out when these boxers come in. Yamamoto trying a roundhouse kick, it is not successful as Milotic recognized it, saw it coming, and now Pat delivers a quick hit to the left leg. But he said, I get the tar beat out of me every day, and that is the will to prepare to win that you just spoke of. As Milotic trying to pick up in the second where he left off in the first.
I don't know if Yamamoto was trying to bait Milotic. He sort of patted the area where Milotic kicked him, either mocking pain or trying to get Milotic to come upstairs with a right hand. And I think it was a setup to try to get Milotic to throw something winging so that he could go under it and perhaps take Milotic down.
Milotic effective with some punches underneath. Wow, that one might have gotten him.
All of those hit him.
Yeah.
That's got to be frustrating as well. You give the guy the back, he won't climb up on you. He's going to punch you underneath your armpit.
Now, Pat seems to be getting stronger with time, and he is very intent on keeping this baby on the feet.
Pace, place, and position have all been Milotic.
Yeah, he got the right eye already. Oh, another big combination!
Hook. Nice left hook there, hit.
Now he's trying to lock one in, Jeff.
There's a guillotine.
After the combination, it looks like he's trying to end it right here. Pat Milotic. McCarthy watching, and there's the tap. There is the tap. Pat Milotic limps away, defending his lightweight title.
Well, it was a front headlock position. Milotic turned it into a guillotine choke, and for some reason, Yamamoto, trying to escape, went to his butt, and that pretty much gave him no room to move. And once he was in there, it was all over. The choke set, submission. Early on, this is Milotic shooting here, or excuse me, Yamamoto shooting, and Milotic following up with these knees. Early in the fight, this happened. Advantage, Milotic. And then Milotic gets into the hips and does a tremendous slam of Yamamoto. And
Boom.
Then that nice left hook. Great display of skill, all-around skill, by this mixed martial artist.
And there is the tap. Pat Milotic, our lightweight champion still. Winner by submission. Not sure when he banged up the ankle. Might have been right at the bitter end. He chokes out Kenichi Yamamoto and defends for the fourth time. That was impressive.
Well, for those that have said that he lacks flash, he certainly had moments there in that fight looking awfully good from a bunch of different positions. And there you can see what that left hook did to Yamamoto's right eye, almost totally closed it. And it's obvious that he continues to improve his striking capabilities.
Amazingly, right now, Pat looks like the wounded fighter. We know that not to be the case, as Pat Milotic ups his UFC record to 7-0 and defends his lightweight belt one more time.
UFC ライト級チャンピオンシップ2ラウンド1分58秒決まり技フロントチョークスリーパーチャンピオンパット・ネテッチ選手の勝利です。
Bob Myrowitz, the CEO, chairman of SEG Sports, and Sakata, our Japanese partner, putting on the UFC J again tonight. We thank Mr. Sakata for all the support that he has given the UFC fight game, understanding that when the two best come together, we get great products like we have seen here again this evening. So limping his way out of the octagon, our lightweight champion, the Croatian sensation, Pat Milotic. Joel Gold from Full Contact Fighter magazine giving his congratulations to the champion.
And the champion continues to win. Beautiful slam there. That's good stuff. Beautiful double leg, and even here, the ability to counter. Yamamoto in deep. But you can see Milotic straighten out his hips, able to get full extension of his body. Great sprawl, great leverage. Counters that attack.
Boom!
And a nice series of punching. Combinations instead of one big punch.
And
one
he finishes
takeaway.
everything, Jeff. He finishes with the, after the good combination, he finishes it, driving his opponent to the mat. He finishes it with a quick left hook. Never leaves anything displaced.
Fundamentals. He's very good at fundamentals, and fundamentals win the big, tight fights. And here, that beautiful guillotine, able to put away his opponent.
So congratulations to Pat Milotic as we have reached our intermission here in Tokyo. Let's check in with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Back here in the lobby, intermission time. I've got a real close friend of mine over here from Crave Entertainment. As you can see, she's trying to tell me that the Crave Entertainment UFC video game is just as popular here in Japan as it is in the US, and I have to believe her. See some of the fans enjoying the game kiosks here in the lobby. Ultimate Fighting Championship video game now available on Dreamcast, PlayStation, Game Boy Color. The game is hot. It's got all the moves you've come to expect from your UFC favorites, all your favorite UFC stars. Taking a good look at TK versus Frank Shamrock. Boy, what a fight that would be. Only in the Dreamcast world these days, though, because Frank's retired. Ultimate Fighting Championship game from Crave Entertainment, as successful here in the Far East as it is at home. Goldie, back to you.
Intermission time now here in Tokyo, Japan, and the fans have really been treated to some spectacular action so far this evening. Alongside my partner, the Olympic gold medalist, Jeff Blatnick, once again I'm Mike Goldberg, and that definitive finish is something that electrifies this crowd.
Certainly does. Anytime you have a quick finish, a spectacular finish like we've had here tonight, the fans really eat it up, whether it be striking or whether it be submission. This is what it's all about. This is what they paid for.
This is what the fighters talk about when they say that one mistake can cost you the opportunity at victory, and we have seen that here this evening. One thing our fans have never seen is the fight that you are about to see. A little bonus coverage of a fight that took place about 6 weeks ago in Atlantic City at the Trump Taj Mahal. Chris Liddell taking on Ben Earwood. Inside the Trump Taj Mahal, we are ready for a preliminary matchup here this evening in the lightweight category. Two young fighters who have very impressive mixed martial arts overall records as Chris Liddell is set to take on Ben Earwood. Both of these young fighters making their UFC debuts here in the beautiful Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. A lightweight, just 23 years old, is Ben Earwood. Mixed martial arts record of 12-2. He is part of the very popular and very successful Pat Milotic camp, a lightweight being trained by our lightweight champion.
Earwood out of the Milotic camp says he's got the best of all worlds training there. He compliments Pat Milotic, Matt Hughes, Jens Pover, Jeremy Horn, Joe Slick, all UFC fighters, veterans of the octagon. And he says you can't go in there and not get a hard workout. So he feels he's very well prepared for what lies ahead tonight in the octagon.
He has good stand-up. He has been known to push his fights. His conditioning has him ready for a 20-minute matchup. This is the preliminary fight, 2 5-minute rounds. So Ben Earwood set to make his UFC debut.
Where is it?
Well-rounded, good conditioning, and he is a product of the Milotic camp.
can't eat anymore, okay?
His opponent is Chris Liddell. Chris Liddell, the lightweight fighter out of Indianapolis, Indiana, has been working out tremendously with Jason Godsey. So you have a Godsey-Milotic matchup. Liddell is not afraid to take a punch. He has taken more than one in his career. He has answered on most occasions. Like submissions, doesn't favor one or the other, Jeff. He is very good in this variance of being able to shut an opponent down.
Well, you mentioned Godsey and Milotic, the two camps, they trained very similarly. However, if you look at Godsey, he was more of a submission guy. Milotic has a lot of professional boxers come in to help his athletes, so they've really focused on striking. So if there's any kind of a matchup here, look for Liddell perhaps to be a little better at submission, Earwood perhaps a little bit at striking, but it'll be Liddell who may have a little bit of an edge in the reach.
Well, these two have very impressive overall mixed martial arts record. Just 3 defeats amongst them, the 23-year-old against the 26-year-old. 3 inches of a difference in the reach for Chris Liddell. They both come in as lightweights, coming in under 170 pounds. To get the official introduction for tonight's preliminary matchup, here is the veteran voice, Bruce Buffer.
Standing to my left, he is a member of the Milotic Fighting Systems team with a mixed martial arts record of 12-2. Standing 5 feet, 8 inches tall, weighing in at 169 pounds. Fighting out of Bettendorf, Iowa, please welcome Ben, the K&K Killer Earwood. And his opponent, standing to my right, he is a freestyle fighter with a mixed martial arts record of 7-1-2. Standing 5 feet, 11 inches tall, weighing in at 167 pounds. He comes to us from Indianapolis, Indiana. Please welcome Chris Liddell. And our referee is Mario Yamasaki.
So Mario Yamasaki, the veteran referee, is ready to get things started here this evening. Lightweight matchup between Ben Earwood and Chris Liddell.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
High stakes underway. 2 fighters making their UFC debut.
Measuring each other out. You can see Liddell has a bit of an edge in height. Try to kick, and Earwood immediately seizes it, puts him down on the ground.
Now Earwood is in the full contact fighter shorts, black shorts. Chris Liddell with the dark hair is in the tap out shorts. 2 5-minute rounds, preliminary matchup here between a Milotic man and a Godsey fighter.
Has a half guard, front headlock, or an attempted guillotine choke there, but doesn't have it set in at all, and nearly clears to a side mount, but gets now caught in the guard of Liddell. A lot of moving. This almost looks like a jiu-jitsu battle here, the way they're maneuvering on the mat. No strikes, pure grappling.
Now Earwood is known to end matches quickly, Jeff. He has lost a couple matches that have gone the distance. Conversely, Liddell is the man who likes to outdistance his opponents quite often, remain patient. Now he's trying to work from inside the guard position.
You can hold on to his hand, but not the gloves.
More of a tactic of frustrating hanging onto the head like that. He really couldn't sink the guillotine choke it in, and he finally gives it up, but he's got what he wants. Had a closed guard, still in full guard here. And you see him bringing the legs up high. Anytime the athlete brings them up close to the armpit and is really curling, almost going into a reverse roll, that is when he's very dangerous. The legs are looking to hook the head, try to extend the arm, gain an arm lock.
Now closed guard is being employed by Chris Liddell. Liddell integrated fighting. He started wrestling at 13 years old. Has worked in Pancras in Japan and has an overall mixed martial arts record of 7-1-2.
Earwood putting Liddell up against the fence, limiting how much he can move now, and thus Liddell becomes a stationary target, vulnerable to strikes. These two are no rookies. They've got experience in mixed martial arts, and experience is a key. Knowledge is king.
Good position for the Pat Milotic fighter to be right now, because he is right in front of his trainer. And he turns out, does Pat Milotic, to be the mentor of all his young fighters. So Ben Earwood, trained by Pat Milotic, part of the Milotic camp in Bettendorf, Iowa, as his mentor standing there and talking to him very quietly, very patiently, right in front of him.
Good strike right there. You can hear that hollow sound.
Slide around, get your feet around the fence and slide out of there, Chris.
Milotic, very calm. He's not a screaming kind of coach. And you see him there with the Dojo TV shirt on. Very calm, the kind of coach you want.
2 minutes left, Chris,
talking
come on.
sense, not talking emotion.
There you go. Let's get position.
And if there's one thing you do coming out of the Milotic camp, that is get in shape.
Come on, Chris.
When you enter the octagon under Pat Milotic, wondering whether you're going to last the distance in terms of conditioning is not an issue.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because Ben, in his pre-fight interviews, talked about getting a little chunky after he stopped wrestling. He no longer has any chunk working out with Pat Milotic. Ben has trained with Pat for the past 3 years. Never have an easy go when you go to the Milotic fighting system.
Come on, Chris, work that.
Pat has guys that pound on him day in and day out. No such thing as an undefeated fighter, especially in the practices that
Push
they
out
put
away from the
themselves
fence
through.
if you need to. Push on the fence.
Earwood doing a great job here of just controlling Liddell, not allowing him to move, not allowing him to get out from underneath. He's escaped the guard now into a side mount. And there is a variance rule here in New Jersey, no kneeing on the ground. Otherwise, all UFC rules are in effect.
His ass off the cage. He's trying to push off the cage. He's going to climb up on your back.
I mean, this is just such a huge advantage. Those at home may not realize there's a couple of good right hands. What an advantage Ben Earwood has right here in front of his entire stable, not just Pat Milotic, but his entire corner.
And look at the flexibility of Liddell. He was underneath, caught fully on his back, legs over the top, but what he's trying to do is transition. Create a position perhaps where Earwood isn't comfortable and maneuvers in a way that he may be able to get out. But Earwood did a great job staying in control, didn't panic, kept his composure, remains on top, right where he wants to be, in front of his coach with the opportunity to strike.
Don't let it get back. There you go. Nice wizard.
Liddell trying to work a little bit of his own magic here in the first round. Under 10 seconds remains in the first of 2 5-minute rounds. A preliminary lightweight fight here to get things going this evening. The beautiful Trump Taj Mahal first round is complete.
And a good first round for Ben Earwood. Able to get a takedown, maintain control, and able to strike effectively once he got there. And the takedown came because Liddell tried to strike the leg kick. Earwood sees that leg, put him right down on the ground. Liddell, out of the Gotze camp, familiar with submissions, arm around the head, looking for a guillotine, but he would not get it. And Earwood would keep him down on the ground.
He can't submit you, he's just going to try to hold you and win a decision.
Deep breath.
So Earwood with a good start to his UFC career. Very skilled young fighter, 14 mixed martial arts contests he has been involved in. He knows his opponent Liddell is a very tough kid and never gives up though. And so it'll be interesting to see now that we move to the second round what Liddell will try to bring to the table.
Well, Liddell also has a background in pancration out of the submission sport, in which there's mainly kicks and then submission locks. They've opened up that style to be more of a striking and grappling sport as well. But with that kind of experience, you know he's familiar with submissions, and it seemed to be that way when he was sparring with Earwood there on the ground, kept bringing his legs up, looking for the opportunity to put it away with a submission lock. And Earwood just too much on his feet, puts Liddell down again.
Now the right hand grazed off of the chin of Chris Liddell. Both tried to throw big bombs, neither connected, and we end up in the same position that we finished the first round in here in the beginning of the second round, and that is Ben Earwood working within the guard of Chris Liddell.
And Liddell really struggling here on the bottom to create an opportunity. Arms around the head, but he doesn't have a good tight guillotine choke. Earwood now, knee in the side, in the stomach, trying to pass the guard, get side mount, and he's achieved it now. Full side mount by Earwood.
Pressure.
And this is normally in mixed martial arts where we see the opportunity to knee the opponent, but again, in New Jersey, that rule has been instituted here the first time the UFC has been here, and they will not be allowed to knee on the ground. You can knee in the standing position, but not on the ground.
So what do you need to do differently to stay busy, partner?
Well, in this kind of a position with that weapon taken away, perhaps elbows to the ribs, or once you get to side mount here, again, knee in the stomach, raise up, get a couple punches in, recover.
Difference is when you swing the arms, you sometimes leave them susceptible to be barred and locked. The legs are much safer to utilize in this particular, half mount position, aren't they?
Yeah, and in the side mount, you don't have to worry as much about the arm bar because the legs aren't in a position to cross the chest and the head at the same time.
So back within a closed guard now, 3 minutes, 17 seconds, remains in the second and final round.
Don't let him have your arm.
Earwood trying to bring it up. Pat Milotic says, don't let him have your arm.
Get your arm out of there.
That's a good tactic by Liddell. Tie up the elbow. Once you got that arm overhooked, then it's really ineffective at striking. And you really want your options open on top and not get caught in a struggle just to free your arm, because then you're grappling and not really being able to score. In other words, the guard's working. You're nullifying any offense.
Come on, guys, let's keep working.
2:43, Mario Yamasaki telling the two fighters to keep working. Mario, once again, our alternate referee, working the matches here this evening that aren't refereed by Big John McCarthy.
He was looking for the arm bar right there, brought the legs up again, but Earwood had to have none of it. And this is the classic Milotic position. Milotic very comfortable in guard, very patient in guard, does not make the big mistake that's going to cost him the fight with a submission, and looks for his opportunities in ground and pound, and that is what Earwood is doing right now.
Took a couple to the ribs, did Liddell from Earwood, so Earwood is trying to stay busy enough within the guard of Liddell that he stays active enough that Mario Yamasaki doesn't stand him up. Now he's got him rolled on the fence again, and really there's not a whole lot Liddell can do here, is there, Jeff?
No, this is an effective tactic by any top man, is to put your opponent's head towards the fence so that it limits how much he can move to offset what you're doing on top. You basically take away his counter and make him much more of a stationary object to go ahead and strike against.
90 seconds remains here in the second and final round of preliminary matchup number 1 on the card tonight here in America's Playground, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Set up and start working his legs and punching.
Perhaps the only knock against lightweight champion Pat Milotic is that so methodical.
He can't hurt you.
But hey, win, baby.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with winning, and Pat Milotic has done a lot of it.
1 minute.
Peyton left, Peyton right, Peyton up the middle. If you win the Super Bowl in '85 with a great defense, it doesn't really matter. And so if you're Pat Milotic, you use your strengths effectively, and you go ahead and not only win the belt, but retain it on numerous occasions.
Stay in control, see it before you do it. Don't get caught in scrambles where you're unsure of yourself. And Earwood doing a great job of staying in control, not losing composure, and sticking to a game plan. He has forced Liddell to change his.
And Earwood was prepared with his conditioning to go a full 20 minutes, Jeff. So this 2 5-minute rounds really hasn't gassed either of our young competitors. 23 years old is Earwood, 26 years old is Liddell, and Earwood has certainly controlled this entire matchup here to begin our Friday night.
Seems Liddell's trying to pick it up. Look at him bring those legs all the way up high, trying to curl up and find some kind of a submission hold. And he's running out of time. This one's going to go to Earwood.
So Ben Earwood will start the night off properly for the Pat Milotic camp, who comes off an impressive showing just 2 months ago where Pat Milotic's fighters swept through the evening's competition. And Earwood clearly dominant, Liddell clearly frustrated here in our lightweight matchup tonight.
Well, he did what he needed to do.
Stand your head up, walk tall.
First timers in there, good performance. Liddell, even though we're predicting he may lose this fight, still had a good show of it. Still had a good show of it. You see Liddell
just missed.
Yeah, Liddell came in looking for that front kick, and Earwood nearly tagged him with that right hand. And then up against the fence, you see that inside step. lifts that leg, takes him right down to the mat, and once again, guard play here, but Earwood never in trouble. Liddell never able to sink that guillotine. And there, even in a scramble, he's able to maintain good, solid position, keep his top position, continue to ground and pound.
Well, he gets to battle with Matt and Mark Hughes day in and day out. And also the champion, as we talked about. So Ben Earwood shows that there is depth at the lightweight category at the Milotic camp. Let's get the official word on the results. Here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 2 rounds, we have a unanimous decision for the winner, Ben, the K&K Killer Earwood.
So Ben Earwood, a winner by unanimous decision here in his UFC debut. He ups his record in mixed martial arts competition to 13-2. Congratulations to Ben Earwood. He is victorious. Been a great night thus far, Jeff, but still ahead the big one. The middleweight championship is on the line. Tito Ortiz set to defend here in Japan, where he first won the middleweight championship against Yuki Kondo. But what a night it has been. Chuck Liddell, very, very impressive with his decision victory over Jeff Monson.
Yeah, Monson could not get any of his wrestling skills going. Liddell got off with some tremendous leg kicks. That really set him up to win that fight.
In the revenge match of the evening, Matt Hughes unable to avenge his only defeat in MMA.
Well, he got caught with a choke in his first time out against Hallman. This time, an armbar. And really, Hallman has great transition skills, constantly moving on the bottom from position to position, really caught him off the takedown, zeroed in on what he wanted and got it.
Lance Gibson took a lot of damage in his fight. He is going to be okay. Better than okay in his performance tonight was Evan Tanner.
Evan came back with a vengeance, boy. I'll tell you, he not only has the ability to pass guard, he can throw strikes, and he used those short forearms and elbows to do away with Lance Gibson.
Brazil against Japan, Iha against Takase.
Iha is impressive. I really like this fighter. Came back and defeated Laverne Clark after losing to him the first time. Great striking skills. He just overwhelmed his opponent.
The misnomer continues to be that wrestlers can only wrestle, because the silver medalist looked pretty good doing more than just wrestling against Yoji Anjo.
I was impressed with Lindland. He had the ability to be able to pass guard and move on the ground, but also putting together strikes. And Lindland looks like a fairly complete fighter at this point.
It was a good matchup that we showed you. Never before seen fight between Ben Earwood and Chris Liddell, with Earwood earning the decision. And then how about Pat Milotic against Kenichi Yamamoto?
Well, he continues to impress us. He has the ability to move around on the mat. He's improved that stand-up, so more and more opponents don't want to duke it out with him on the feet. And his submission skills, second fight in a row now, he's won through submission.
Still ahead, title fight, middleweight division, Tito Ortiz and Yuki Kondo just moments away. But right now, let's go backstage as Pat Milotic, who has once again successfully defended his lightweight title, is with our James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. It's Iowa East here in Pat Milotic's dressing room. I think we have most of the Davenport, Bettendorf contingent here. First of all, champ, I want to say congratulations on a successful defense of your belt tonight. It's got to feel good.
Yeah, it does feel good, but it's not a successful night for the team. We always want to come out 100%, and I was fighting out of anger for my teammates.
Anger looked pretty good and certainly pretty effective. You pretty much dictated the fight. What was your game plan going in? Do you feel as though you succeeded with it?
I just wanted to punish him as much as possible, and whatever opened up, whatever he gave me is what I was going to take.
First time in Japan defending the belt. Any jitters, any problems, any jet lag?
I don't know about jet lag, but I think we were all pretty stressed about the trip. You know, we had a really tough time getting here, and stuck in Chicago, and I was just happy to get in the octagon and let loose some frustration.
Yeah, Pat and the whole Iowa group just got in actually yesterday. They were scheduled to be in the day before, but some trouble in Chicago, as Pat alluded to, delayed them a day. He just got in. Of course, the champ comes ready to fight. Any other words of wisdom for the fans back home in Iowa? Say hello to anyone?
I miss my wife and I love her, and miss my mom, miss my dogs, miss my friends back home, and I'm happy to be coming home back to Iowa and bringing the title back to the United States where it belongs.
Congratulations, champ. We take a look. You got the foot raised. Can you shed any light on what's going on with the heel?
It's been injured for a couple of months, and I thought it might have been a hairline fracture in my heel. It went partly during the fight, a little bit more, and then when I jumped up at the very end, it snapped through all the way, I think. And so take some time off and heal up. I'm getting old, you know.
Well, he doesn't look it. Pat Milotic successful once again, defending his lightweight belt. Back to you, Goldie.
Well, certainly the weight for this middleweight championship fight is getting old for Tito Ortiz. Mentally preparing himself for Yuki Kondo. Middleweight belt on the line. Ortiz and Kondo. #1 ranked Japanese fighter Yuki Kondo enters the octagon tonight with a wealth of international competition and experience on his side. Revered in his homeland as the 5th and 8th King of Pancras, Kondo has gone toe-to-toe with some of the world's best, including UFC veterans Pete Williams and Frank Shamrock. Kondo made his UFC debut last September at UFC 27 in one of the best fights of the year. Kondo and Brazilian Cafe Dantas went back and forth in a fight filled with attempted submissions, solid reversals, and big strikes. By the 3rd round, Dantas had grown weary, and Kondo moved in for the kill. Very impressive in his UFC debut, Yuki Kondo had proved he can more than hold his own at the UFC level. Tonight, he'll look to elevate himself even more as he gets a shot at Tito Ortiz and the UFC Middleweight Championship of the World. UFC middleweight champion Tito Ortiz is the evolution of the mixed martial artist.
I come in here and you let my fight do the talking.
Entering the UFC as a 22-year-old amateur 3 years ago, Tito Ortiz was essentially a one-dimensional fighter. Already an outstanding wrestler, he was also huge for middleweight. These attributes allowed him to pummel his way through his preliminary fight, but he came up short in the middleweight tournament finals, falling victim to a guillotine choke. A brand new Tito Ortiz returned at UFC's 18 and 19 to take on Jerry Bolander, then 2 months later, Guy Mezger. The changes and improvements were obvious. Using his size and strength to his advantage, Ortiz scored at will with takedowns, strikes, and outfought both opponents en route to 2 very decisive victories over 2 of the UFC's top middleweights. Young Tito was ready for a title shot, and Frank Shamrock was waiting.
UFC middleweight championship, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on! Come on!
In one of the greatest fights ever in the octagon, Ortiz lost to the defending champion, but not before opening a deep cut and taking the champ through 4 rounds of grueling action. Even in defeat, it was easy to see the talent and potential within. When the middleweight belt became up for grabs at UFC 25, Ortiz and Brazilian Vanderlei Silva were chosen as the top contenders. Seizing this golden opportunity, the fight was all Tito, who was able to again accentuate his positives by taking down the smaller Silva and controlling on the ground. The unanimous decision went to Ortiz. The UFC had a new middleweight champion. And so tonight, Tito Ortiz returns to the place he won the belt to put it on the line for the first time. His opponent, hometown hero Yuki Kondo, the brash youngster from Huntington Beach, against the slick technician from the Far East. Worlds collide tonight. And they collide on the turf of Yuki Kondo. How good was Yuki Kondo in that fight against Dantas, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, at UFC 27? Very, very good, proving very worthy of a shot at the title here tonight. He has flash, he has dash, he has confidence. Most importantly, he has all the skills and talent to back it up.
And he comes from a Pancrase background, which means he's well-versed in submissions. And the losses that Tito has endured, one of them was by submission, a choke by Guy Metzger. So perhaps Kondo feeling that might be his best game plan going in. I don't think he wants to strike with Tito Ortiz, but Kondo is supposedly a good striker as well. We haven't seen that yet, particularly against the level of expertise as a Tito Ortiz. But excellent submission skills, quick striker, and very experienced in pancrase, which was open hand when the UFC started, but they have now varied their rules to be more mixed martial arts with closed fists.
Well, ironically, he is 4-0 in fights with closed fists. So Yuki Kondo gets his shot at the title tonight. Only thing he needs to do to leave this ring with the belt is defeat the champion. Tito Ortiz, just 25 years old, from Huntington Beach, California, fights out of Huntington Beach, California, made his debut all the way back at UFC 13, and as he has learned over time, he had so much to learn. He has been humble in regards to understanding that he doesn't have it all quite yet. And the minute a fighter thinks that they do is the minute that they often become defeatable. Tito has not fallen into that trap.
A great wrestler, a much improved striker, and a much improved submission player. He is looking fired up right now. I think he's really ready for this fight.
Both are 25 years old. 6'2" Tito Ortiz, ready to take on 5'11" Yuki Kondo. The moment we have been waiting for tonight. We have the lightweight champion continuing to be Pat Milotic. Now, the middleweight title on the line. Let's listen in.
東京ドームコロシアム2戦での22秒の KO 劇は驚きではなく、これから始まる近藤流格闘絵巻の序章に過ぎない。180センチ、86キログラム、第5代、第8代、キングオブパンクラシスト、チャレンジャー、ブルーコーナー、近藤祐樹。鉄壁のグラウンドテクニック。今年4月 UFCJ 代々木大会で上り詰めた王座の席を弾丸も通さぬ鉄のガードで守り抜く。21世紀までこのタイトルは誰にも渡さない。 This is Millennium Bad Boy。 190センチ90キログラム UFC ミドル級チャンピオン from America。 レッドコーナーティド・オーティス。
Wow, what a look of determination in the eyes of Tito Ortiz. The bad boy from Huntington Beach. Big John McCarthy, our referee. It is all on the line here tonight in Tokyo.
And the question will now be answered. 8 months out of the octagon. Is he rusty or is he ready?
Wow, big kick. Oh, and a flying knee. Oh, big hit from Kondo right in the first 10 seconds of the matchup. Tito rolled away from it. He seems okay.
He doesn't seem hurt. He just got a takedown back. He seems to have
wow,
all his
look at Tito
faculties,
teeing
and he's
off here,
unloaded.
Jeff.
He is throwing punches now. A fast and furious start here. And you got to wonder, Mike, Vanderlei Silva also tagged Tito Ortiz when Ortiz won the championship. Perhaps Kondo more now. Yeah, Tito striking big.
Yuki Kondo here. In the first 40 seconds, we have seen 40 punches. Wow.
Well, if there was any kind of rust, perhaps that knee banged it all off.
Now,
it seems Ortiz is coming back
it was
now.
chrome, and he looks finely polished right here.
Oh, this isn't defending
wow, this
very
is not
well.
Good.
This is not defending very well, covering up like that.
If you are Kondo, this is not where you want Tito Ortiz, because he is going to town. McCarthy watching very intently.
There's no reason for Ortiz to look for a choke submission there. He's constantly
he worked
striking
through it.
him.
Good refereeing there, because John McCarthy let Kondo work through it. He did. Now let's see what happens. But serious punches thrown by Tito Ortiz to the top half of the body of Yuki Kondo.
Many of them were blocked, but some of them definitely got through. But in terms of aggression, Ortiz has really come out a knee there by Ortiz. And he continues to score.
Yeah. That's where he's improved so much. Now he's trying to land something.
Tight half Nelson. He's got the head ripped up pretty hard. This could be
There's a tap. There's a tap. It's over. Tito Ortiz used his fists. He used his legs. He used his elbows. and he wins by submission.
And that was a funky submission. He had basically a half Nelson, a wrestling move, but what he did is he hooked his elbow high on the head and pulled the head up, forcing the chin into the chest of Kondo. And by doing that, he's effectively cut off the air supply.
Tito Ortiz defends his middleweight championship with the submission by choke. His wife Kristen in the background in to help the celebration begin for the reigning middleweight champion of the UFC mixed martial arts world, that man, Tito Ortiz, given congratulations by the CEO and chairman of SEG Sports, Mr. Bob Myrowitz, and the referee, Big John McCarthy.
And again, there's the class by these two guys, and this is something out of Pancrase, where they get on their knees after the fight to talk with one another. Mutual sign of respect.
Kondo was just overwhelmed. Got the knee in quickly, Jeff, and that was a heck of a shot that Tito took. But it's almost as if it ticked Tito off that he got hit so early, and then he came out with some serious, serious fury.
The floodgates opened after that knee, and that knee might have knocked the rust off of Tito. Otherwise, who knows, perhaps Kondo may have landed another strike. But that's twice now we've seen Tito hurt or stunned and able to come back and win handily.
Okada also congratulating the middleweight champion, Tito Ortiz. Japan has been very good to Tito Ortiz. It looks like his wife Kristen doing a little shopping in Shibuya, has the local look going and wears it quite well as you get a look at our reigning champion, Tito Ortiz.
And we're awful happy to see Kristen with Tito. They both were in an accident during their honeymoon. She was hurt more badly, but she seems healthy and certainly happy here tonight.
Well, everybody is going to celebrate this victory this evening here in Japan. And it did not take long for Team Punishment to win and hold on to his belt, and what a Christmas present it is to keep under the tree as the snow falls inside the arena here in Tokyo.
And everybody enjoying a little bit of the cheer here.
A little levity, absolutely. Everyone coming in to congratulate that man right there, Tito Ortiz, and congratulations, well deserved. How much better can he get? Once again, I've said it before tonight, but only time will tell.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a few people in the practice room with Tito Ortiz that's going to put in that tape and say, hey, Tito, how'd that knee taste? He certainly has the skills and the offense to win fights, but he's also going to have some defense. That's twice we've seen him stunned with strikes, you know, early in fights. But he certainly has the heart, the lungs, the cardio, and the determination to come back from those kinds of quick strikes and put a flurry on.
And he did impressively tonight. Chuck Liddell gives him a little bit of a pat on the back and some congratulations. Tito Ortiz also watched in the wings some pretty impressive middleweights here tonight. Middleweight division is alive and healthy.
Very healthy in the UFC, very deep in the UFC, and certainly talented. And who knows, who else is out there that has been training and is just waiting for the opportunity?
Well, they'll have to go through that man, Tito Ortiz, if they want the ultimate prize in the mixed martial arts world in the middleweight division, the UFC belt. Tito must have felt like a movie star the last week or so that he, his friends, his wife have been here in Japan. He's been featured on local talk shows. He cannot go a block down the streets of Tokyo without signing an autograph, and it is all well-deserved publicity for the middleweight champion. James Wormy upstairs. Worm, what do you have?
Thank you very much, Goldie. Joined by a furious and successful Tito Ortiz. You came out with a passion, man. That's a fast pace. You took it to him sharp. Is that what you wanted to do?
No. I think it's an aggression deep down in my body that
kind of when I was a kid, I've had a lot of problems, and his aggression let it out here in Japan.
He pissed you off when he kicked you, didn't he?
Yeah, it got me real pissed. That was actually the first time I ever been kneed in the face. I never thought he'd get up so high. But hey, Kondo's he has never lost to anybody like that, ever. No one, I don't think, has tapped him out besides Funaki. I came in here doing my deal. It was my job, was to come here and get another belt. For sure, I gotta thank my sponsors, Spanky's XXX out of Santa Ana, California, Speedwear, Dave Thomas out of Huntington Beach, California, and Gordon Biersch out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Those are my sponsors who make this happen for me so I can just train 100% every day, 7 days a week.
Tito looked great tonight. He always comes in top shape. Did you feel good? It had been a while since you got in there. How was it to get back in the octagon?
At first, it's kind of weird because the first little connection, you get that tunnel vision. John McCarthy says, are you ready? Let's get it on. Just tunnel vision until that first shot. I mean, we touched each other and everything came about. He hit me with a good knee and that surprised me for a second, but I composed myself. I think I've been boxing a lot more, so now I'm used to taking shots and came back and do what I do best, ground and pound. But then a submission came about and he let me have it and I took advantage of it. There's no middleweights out there gonna challenge me at all. Maybe Renzo Gracie, if he wants to step up, I'll give you a chance. But that chance may be slim, so you better take advantage of it now.
Certainly a lot of people want a shot at this guy. I don't know how many people can hang with him in this 8-sided structure, though. A Merry Christmas to you, a Merry Christmas to everyone. Goldie, back to you. He's still the champ.
He is indeed Tito Ortiz, and impressively so, and no lack of confidence visiting in the octagon with our James Wormy, and as Worm aptly put it, that knee to the face pissed Tito off.
That's a good way to put it, because that's exactly what it seemed to do. It definitely stunned him as well. I mean,
he connected too. You can see it
correct.
there, Jeff.
And if he has been training in boxing, he's learned how to take shots better, so be it. But that was a straight shot that could have ended the fight if there was a little bit more power in that knee from Kondo. But there's no doubt about the offense of Tito Ortiz. He is a ground and pound master. He operates well with that long reach and his size and strength. And he is our UFC champion.
He is a dangerous man in this day and age of the fight game. And once he's able to get, even working from a guard, once he's able to get top position, even if it is within his opponent's guard, he tees off. And then he goes back to some of his basics, finds a submission, takes it, and finishes the fight.
And he is really stretching the neck of Kondo there. I've done this in wrestling before to pin people. You lift on the very back of the head, and by doing so, it's literally a choke. You're forcing the chin into the chest. He has no way to get air, particularly when the pulse is racing.
Little samurai celebration for the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. One last time tonight, let's check back in with James Wormy.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Here in the lobby again, and we've found some Japanese fans who speak English. I'm joined by Shinji Katsukawa, who is a UFC fan. This is the third event he's been to out of the 4. Shinji, what is it about the UFC coming to Japan that's so exciting?
Yeah, it's been so pleasure to see UFC, in Japan. I've been a big fan of UFC for many years, and actually, I've actually been to the US fight too one time, and it was really great. So since then, I was really excited because the difference between this fight, UFC and with the other, the conventional fighting events, is this one is more realistic and it's so exciting. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, and we're excited to be here. It's great. This is our 4th time in Japan. The support is overwhelming. It gets better and better each time. I'm sure we're looking forward to doing more shows in the future. I'm sure the Japanese public is looking forward to more UFCJ here in Japan.
I think Japanese fans are ready to support this event with a full force. So I hope the UFC, whoever the organization, is going to do their best to bring more the events to Japan.
More events, a great UFC video game from our friends at Crave Entertainment. The future looks bright for UFC and UFC in Japan. Goldie, back to you.
James, great job done this evening. Time to give out some awards. First, our full contact fighter, full contact moment of the night. Full contact fighter, the undefeated, no holds barred news source of the world. Had to be the big knee here, Jeff.
Without a doubt, Kondo getting between the defenses of Tito Ortiz and putting him down. Great.
Our full contact fighter moment of the night. And from our friends at Tap Out Sportswear and Fightwear, the tap out of the evening.
And that goes to Dennis Hallman with this armbar against his opponent, Matt Hughes. Picture perfect.
Indeed it was.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship presents Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000. 6 hours of action, 6 hours of excitement, 6 hours of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. These are the greatest fights and the greatest fighters to ever enter the octagon. Kick off your millennium with Ultimate New Year's Eve 2000. December 31st on pay-per-view. And remember, if it's not in the octagon, it's not real.
Attention UFC fans, because on Friday, February 23rd, the Ultimate Fighting Championship returns to pay-per-view and the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You'll see all of your favorite UFC stars in the most intense, full-contact event in sports today. Tickets on sale soon at the Taj Mahal box office and at all Ticketmaster outlets. The UFC in AC for another battle on the boardwalk. Don't miss it. Tonight in Japan, another success, especially for the victors, like this man, Chuck Liddell, defeating Jeff Monson and leaving a souvenir for Monson to remember Liddell's lethal kicks. And how about the submission 20 seconds into round number 1 as Dennis Hallman defeats Matt Hughes again. For Hallman, a heck of a way to be introduced to the UFC fight world. How good is Evan Tanner? Or maybe we should say, how bad is Evan Tanner? Overwhelming Lance Gibson Sr. Lance Gibson tried to stay with it, but in the end, Tanner's strikes were absolutely lethal. Who would be more lethal, Fabiano Iha or Deju Takase? The answer on this night, Fabiano Iha, as Brazil reigns supreme over Japan. And Fabiano Iha seems to be getting better and better. The debut of the silver medalist, who looked a lot like our heavyweight champion, Randy Couture. Take it as a compliment, Matt Lindland, because you have a heck of a fight career ahead of you. Matt Lindland, the Olympic silver medalist wrestler from the United States, defeats Yoji Anjo in his debut. And then the belt on the line. And if you want flash and dash, then just ask Pat a couple more times. Milotic delivered and delivered with a series of furies, frustrating his opponent, Yamamoto, finally choking him out. Limping his way to find his belt, still around his waist. And finally the bad boy, Tito Ortiz. Everybody takes a certain wake-up call. And you know what? Sometimes you do not want to wake the sleeping giant. That is what Kondo did. Tito Ortiz made Kondo pay. So both champions defend, and we look ahead to the new year. To you and yours, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. We will see you in Atlantic City.